This is the Giant Bombcast for July 28th, 2020. I'm Jeff Gerstmann. We're here. Brad Shoemaker is not here. He is elsewhere. So I'm filling in as host. Jason A. Stryker, though, he is also here. Hello.
Hi, I'm here and coming to you from my living room. Jeff, it's very hot in here. The windows are closed. Let's go. Let's podcast. I'm ready for podcasting.
I love to podcast. Jan Ochoa, do you your thoughts on podcasting? Give me name 5 things about podcasting.
I put them.
Ass. No,
that's suck ass. Some of them are not long enough. I need podcasts to be at least 2.5 hours.
Got it.
I need a wonderful grouping of personalities.
Can't help you there.
Okay. I need the most informed opinions on video games and other assorted things.
Okay, that's
I need a rowdy group of at least 5 people. Shit. Good internet?
Nope.
Like 3 out of 4 ain't bad.
3 out of 4 ain't bad, baby.
My internet is not. I don't know. Mine's been okay.
It's been okay.
It's been okay. Ben Pack, how's your internet?
Bad. It's
great.
Bad. It always has been, and it always will be.
That's right. I like
Cool.
I like a nice bad internet.
I'm lounging this week. You know, I cranked my chair all the way back. I've been having some neck pain, and I think a lot of it has to do with like bad gaming posture. So I think this week I'm letting it all lie down. I'm basically lying down. It's great. I got this mic arm. Look how far I can really just kind of go all the way back here.
He's practically.
I can't even reach my monitor.
This is great for energy. I feel like there's a real sometimes when people record audio things, they stand up because it helps to keep you keep the vocal tract, like
the diaphragm,
in a straight line, diaphragm, all the breathing, all this other stuff. But I mean, you're stretching out in a different way.
I would.
Yeah, you could.
Jeff, I got a
Dennis
question.
Youngman recorded his albums in bed. Why? What is?
I don't have somewhere to put my mic.
Ben, when you've been practicing driving lately, right?
That's right.
Do you like lean your seat back, or do you are you right up on it?
I would say I'm like at let's say 15 to 18 degrees back.
Whoa. Okay.
Or I don't know how
negative.
I guess it'd be like 348 degrees forward.
Okay.
Pretty vertical with a little lean.
Did you and
yes, I do drink a little lean before.
Oh yeah, I mean you want to get in a learning mindset.
Yeah.
And if you're not dropping 4 into some Sprite, I feel like the mind needs to flex.
It needs to flex, but it also needs to be still like an ocean. And I feel like the codeine helps with that.
Yeah, I mean, would DJ Screw have basically would DJ Screw have invented vaporwave if not for the healing effects of codeine? Don't get into codeine. I got real sick once, and my dad just happened to have a bunch of codeine. I didn't ask. I said here, and then I just tried. I was taking it because I was sick, and then when I was not sick, I couldn't sleep anymore, and then I was like, I gotta
take some codeine.
I've got to wean myself off codeine. This is no good.
Or you just start microdosing.
Yeah, that's what I ended up doing. Really opened my third eye, and now I'm a successful CEO. Burning Man is happening in my head pretty much all the time.
Oh shit! Are we not gonna? When's Burning Man?
Right now.
Is it not?
I mean, San Francisco's on fire, so it's burning, man.
Yeah. No, this is thanks to everyone who tuned in. This is the virtual. Virtual Burning Man. We've decided to have an all online event this year, and so we have a week-long program for you. We're going to cover a lot of different topics, from microdosing to how to select the best helicopter rental service.
Are there panels at Burning Man?
It's more of like you have a camp and your camp has a gimmick and people come visit your camp and you do your little gimmick to them. Like I had some friends who did a role-playing camp and they just had like a little one-act role-playing game that they would run, or like this is the like hydration station, but like I'd say probably 60% of them are drug orgy tents. Which is I'd like to announce my stream. It's the drug orgy tent. I'm converting my office here into a yurt. And
I mean, you're most of the way there. So
yeah, anything you see in here, you can lick, and it'll give you a different anything. Anything.
Like a plant? What's that? The poster up there? Do you have like? Is there?
It's one big LSD.
Oh, a big LSD.
Oh, yeah, it's a jumbo. It's a supersize me LSD.
I always knew you were in the pocket of big LSD.
I can't believe it came out this way.
Yeah, and
you know, there's all this talk about opening your third eye. What about using your second tongue? Can you use your second tongue in this like virtual Burning
keep
Man?
that as clean as possible for, you know.
Yeah, no, my second tongue is not. You don't. It's filthy. My first tongue also not great, but second tongue is like, whoa, boy. You know, we got to
brush.
Well, I'm using it to clean up around the house. Really,
yeah,
you know, and just try to keep the floors clean. The baby that crawls everywhere now, and we have to, you know, it's like either we mop more or I lick the floors more.
Right, and you don't want to have to go out to Target and buy another mop if something happens to your mop.
I was going to say baby. You were going to say baby.
You don't want to go out and buy another baby either.
No, absolutely. I like this one, and we've had her pass the warranty now. So yeah. So we're kind of this is it, and so yeah. So that's, you know, when you run out of soap, you know, it's basically like, you know, I learned from watching, you know, my wife will sometimes lick her thumb and wipe, you know, the gunk or schmutz or leftover sweet potato off the baby's face, and I'm like, well, if saliva can do that, then why can't I lick the floors clean?
A human's mouth is cleaner than a dog's butt, and everyone always says that and knows that it's true.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, that's an idiom.
There are no dogs around here, so I can't really test out like any aspect of that. So I'm just going to take it as fact and move on. Great. Video games.
Mm-hmm.
There are some of those.
Your Brad impression?
Yeah, no, this is, oi, it's video games.
Brad playing the role of Vinny Jones.
Is Brad on the meat now? What was that? I looked away for a second.
Cool. It's time to play the video games, innit? I've been playing Ghost of Tsushima. I've been playing Ghost of Tsushima.
Good.
Oh, Jeff's back.
I'm glad.
Yeah, hi. No, that's Brad called in, and he just wanted to just make sure that the podcast got back on track. He was like, you guys are talking a lot about drugs, and this is never going to get monetized on YouTube. What the fuck are you doing? And, you know, so he's not wrong. Ghost of Tsushima, it's all right. That game is all right. I got to the start of Act. That said, I think I have a lot of problems with it that are only getting stronger the more I play of it. But that game at least starts out as pretty cool. Mm-hmm. And now that I'm in Act 2, it's definitely this feeling of like, man, I have been doing all. So I did a lot of side stuff, not all of it, because eventually I was like, I'm going to finish Act 1 because the podcast is coming up, and I should at least see like what the next big story mission is before we get into that. So I went and got my grappling hook and did all that stuff, and
cool.
And got into Act 2, and the combat is so repetitive and like so easy. And I saw that they were patching in a new difficulty setting and some other options around accessibility. You know, some other kind of stuff around.
Yeah, they've got a lethal difficulty setting now.
Yeah, which I don't know that I'm like. I guess, you know, there's some stuff I could tweak, I guess. Like, I think what I need to do, I need to turn off aim assist, because because I turned that on without playing the game. I was like, oh, aim assist. I mean, this is a console game, so you want aim assist. And then the way the bow will snap to targets that are not people, like I'll be aiming at someone who is too far away for the aim assist, and then it will snap to a torch, like a lantern nearby. And I'm like, no, I do not want to do that. I'm trying to shoot this fool in the head. And I can definitely reach him from here. Yeah, just so I probably need to turn that off. It's gosh, I really don't like the way the stance stuff. I think is like super like a bad way for them to go. I think they picked like maybe the dullest way to flesh out the combo system and combat in that game.
There's so little variety to the different stances.
Yeah.
Like it falls into my like pet peeve of like, okay, well, we've got to switch to this stance to attack this guy now and switch back to the other one.
It's like a rhythm, not a rhythm game, but it's like you're just playing memory. You're just like, oh, this guy's got a pole, so I need to hold R2 and hit this button. Oh, this guy's got a shield. I need to hold R2 and hit this, and then triangle, 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 and he's busted and I'm stabbing him. You know, it doesn't make it more difficult. It doesn't make it, and it doesn't add real depth.
It adds a layer of like to the flow, which I actually liked because it was so bare bones at first.
Totally. I guess I wish that it had a combat tree that was expansive and interesting. Yeah. And the things that you were getting, like I finished like a lot of the skill tree and a lot of this other stuff. And it doesn't expand in cool ways. Like I really like this game. And I'm having like a really good time with it. But there's just enough stuff that you like over the course of playing it, you're like, man, what if this was better? What if this was better? What if this was better? Like this game could be incredible, but the combat, I think the stance change stuff is a bummer. Because like imagine if instead it had been like, oh, we've got combos and things that you are going to engage with on a deeper level. That you can use to open up the shield guy or get around the spear guy or like there's just so many different ways they could have done that. And the stance change stuff, it just feels like this easy mode thing of just like, I don't need to use this, but if I do it, I can chew up these guys. I can just chew these guys up. And
I feel like a game that did that really well this year is Final Fantasy VII Remake is a game that is like uses its combat system to give you the options to approach the battle from different ways rather than just like mindlessly kind of switching between. I haven't played Tsushima yet, so I'm taking this off of what I've read and what you guys are saying, but it sounds like Remake might kind of be more what you're looking for there.
Yeah. Another good example is Neo. If you're talking about stance changes, your moveset changes dramatically once you switch around and you have
Neo is crazy.
There's a lot going on there.
No, I didn't finish Neo, but I liked the time I spent with it. I think I just eventually hit a point with it where I was like, oh, I am lost in this area and also just getting fucking worked and at some point just fell off of it. But Neo is cool. Like I mean, Ghost of Tsushima seems like a Far Cry game to me in a lot of ways. Like the skill tree stuff is similar in that it's like, well, what if you could stab 2 guys instead of 1? Oh, what if you could assassinate 3 guys instead of 2? And like Far Cry had very much that like, oh, well, if you spec this way on the skill tree, now you can do the stealth kills to the guys wearing armor. And like this has that type of progression in its skill tree. And it's fine, but I feel like within like 3 hours, I'd plucked everything off of the tree that I wanted. Like the stance upgrades, the upgrades on the stances and stuff don't feel all that useful. Like it's some additional moves and stuff that you don't really need because when you're changing stances generally all you're really doing is just mashing. You're changing stances so you can mash against them to break them down and once they're defenseless just stick them. Pretty much. So like the idea of just like, well, what if this kick that you could charge up did a little more knockback? I'm like, that's like fun. Like doing that lets me juggle and do some goofy shit, but the combat is not built in such a way where you really benefit from that stuff in a meaningful way.
I did find the kick useful. I want to stand up for the
Cool.
kick.
All right.
Because the
kick
kick will
seemed
knock
like the
them on
one
their ass,
thing.
and you can run up to them and just like one shot them. It's actually pretty useful.
The kick actually does seem like the one thing on that like hold down heavy charge. Like each stance has one, and most of them are just like, I'm gonna stick you, and then if I upgrade, I can go ba twice. Like, nah, you don't need it. You don't need it. Like the game is not
into a sheep.
But like the standoff stuff, like upgrading that is actually like a really good example of like, here's this badass thing. I guess you get to be too much of a monster in that game too early, and you outpace the difficulty really quick. Like between doing I did enough side stuff in the first area where it's like, oh, I have almost all the sword upgrade stuff, and you know, like really cranking my way through the upgrade tree and all this, and then it's just like, okay, I'm gonna walk into this battle, and then I'm gonna push up on the D-pad, and then 3 guys are dead. Boom. Done.
Or if you max out your armor, you can actually take up to 5. That's what I'm doing right now. And it's like, okay, you go into an enemy stronghold, you hit up, you kill everybody that's within eye shot, and then it just goes back to neutral again.
Right, and then you're like stealth again.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy, but it gets a little old after a while.
Yeah, and I think I wish that I wish that the game, for as much as it's playing on these themes of you are a samurai, you fight with honor. Oh wait, you sure did just stab a bunch of people from behind. Like I wish that was a dynamic system that was reactive and changed up based on how you played. If there was something almost like a Paragon Renegade aspect to it of just like you played honorably, and as such, this story stuff, like Yuna doesn't think you're cool anymore, but your uncle sure does.
Right.
Or like, yeah, you and Yuna are tight, and your uncle, which is actually it seems like that's the default of just like, hey, you know, you and Yuna are cool, and your uncle thinks you're up to no good. And I think the thing I realized getting into Act 2 was samurais are pricks, and they're fucking boring as hell. Like, here's a game full of all these cool ass moves that are like way more fun to play with, and maybe that's like their message or something. But it seems like the game, if it was better at rewarding honorable play or something like that, to give you a reason to, because otherwise it's just like, no, I'm gonna throw this bomb into your face and blow you up and then stab you, and then I'm gonna do this and do like use all of the aspects of the combat just to have a good time and fuck around.
Slit your throat with honor.
Exactly. Yes. Or yes. But yes, the samurais, like basically this game feels like it's just painting samurai as just like, yo, we're like Judge Dredd, basically.
Sounds like a bit of
which
a
is
bummer,
probably not too far off, but
because like I was mildly interested in this game for like the stealth aspects they were showing off, but it seems like that a lot of, and I've seen a lot of people compare this to the early Assassin's Creed games too, with like the open world and like how you can approach stealthily, but it seems like a lot of people are just going in loud because that's where like the skill tree winds to like skew towards.
Yes and no. I mean, you know, you like the stealth kills and stuff, like, you know, you can stealth assassinate and build that into a chain where you're killing 3 people in a row. Like I've gone in and taken bases out with arrows and stealth kills, and basically all that's left is the leader just sitting there practicing doing dumb shit, and then I get the like observe bonus for getting close to him, and then just walk up and stick him, which doesn't kill him, but it's a critical strike on a leader. But then he's already so busted up by that point that I'm like, all right, check this out. Ba, you're dead. And yeah, I don't know. I think I kind of want to keep playing it, but also I mostly want to keep playing it, and I'm hoping that like there's just something else there. I know there's like the ghost stance stuff or whatever. But that doesn't sound like it's actually that cool.
No.
And you know, like I went and got the was it the Heaven Breaker or whatever, the triangle and circle unblockable, and I was like, oh cool, new moves, like that sounds like something that could help here, but nah, that's not really that's not
really,
I
started using that against enemies, and like all of a sudden they're dodging it. I'm like, god damn it, I thought this was useful.
Well, it's unblockable, it's not undodgeable.
It's unblockable.
Yeah, So I guess like I like it, and I want to keep chipping away at it because it's like it's that checklisty open world game, and sometimes those are okay, especially if you haven't played one for a while. And
I was going to ask, like, what is keeping you going other than curiosity? Like you mentioned, is it just like a very polished example of that? Like,
yeah, it's a really nice looking game, and it's a fun environment to just move around. Like, you know, you get on the horse and ride and just kind of ride from place to place, and occasionally you see like, oh, some dudes up here, I'm gonna stab them, and then you do that and you get back on the horse and get to your destination. And it just seems like there's always one more question mark on the map that's close enough to you that you're just like, well, I'm gonna go see what that is. But then you get there and it's like, oh, it's another fox den, it's another one of these things that I've already done 6 of, and
but then it's over in 10 seconds and you got another question mark to get
right, exactly. Yeah. So it is like, I feel like from a gameplay perspective, it is this kind of junk food, comfort food thing of just like, this isn't especially challenging. And I feel like there's a ton of missed opportunities across that game with the way it plays and things they could have done from a gameplay perspective that I think would have just made it more engaging. But I do still like it. Like it's something that's just like, you know, you kind of just chip away at it, and it's mindless. Like it is a podcast game type of open world game. It's like the story is not super interesting, but interesting enough. Like it's a great premise and a great setting that I don't think they are making good on from a story perspective, which I think a lot of games do that.
It heats up a little bit at the end of Act 2.
Cool.
Thankfully, yeah, because I'm at a point now where I've maxed out, you know, my skill trees and stuff, and unearthed most of the map, and I'm like, fuck, I don't know what else to do, man. Let's just mainline this shit. So yeah, I'm a little more invested. Yeah, which is very helpful.
It's a game where they put things on the skill tree that let you find the collectibles. Like you can spend your technique points on, oh, just let me find all the collectibles. Like it's that style of open world game.
Cool.
I respect that.
Yeah. And you know, like there's are aspects of that I think are just kind of fun to mindlessly bash your way through. And I think like the combat is just mindless enough to where it's like, all right, yeah, I'm going to run in here and stick all these fools, and that's a good time. And man, I sure did get all bloody. Yeah. And I kind of wish like the armor didn't have stats on it or bonuses on it. I wish it was like, oh, as you found this armor and now you have this universal, because I'm finding myself, and maybe I shouldn't do this because like who cares? But I find myself going in wearing the stealth armor, and then as soon as I get discovered, going, hang on, let me change to my samurai armor because I get way more damage reduction.
1 sec, guys, hold on.
Let me just take this off and
turn around.
Put these wood planks on my shoulders, and okay, I'm going to put on the scary mask now because I love to murder. And I probably don't. That's on me. I probably don't need to be doing that because none of it's that hard. But at the same time, like I don't know, like reading the stuff they're doing with the new difficulty mode, that you know, it's like, oh, this will make it harder, but like that's not. It's not going to make the combat better. It's not going to make the combat more engaging.
It sounds like it's going to make it more punishing.
Yeah, it's like, okay, now you really need to use these systems the way that they built them, which right now, at least it's a little flexible in that I can not just play the stance game and not just be like, well, I have to be in the right stance to take this enemy out, otherwise I'm going to do this and blah, blah, blah. You know, I think that is a really boring way to play it. And like hearing there's just like, oh, it's gonna extend further, you know, like, hey, we've tightened this up with the windows on the counters, because that's the other thing is the parry and counter window is just a fucking mile wide.
It's huge. Well, I mean, except for the perfect parries. Or
yes, the perfect parries are harder to get, but
yeah,
I still find myself getting enough of them to where it's not that. Yeah, it's not that hard, but it is harder than just kind of knocking out a regular parry. But I don't need to do that many perfect parries, like, because the regular parries are usually pretty good, and you know, you get a little health buff, or you know, you can spec in that direction. But yeah, it's there's stuff on the skill tree that you don't need, and stuff on the skill tree that I wish there was more of, I guess. So it just feels like a little out of balance or something, and I wish that it was a little. I wish it just feels like a missed opportunity, and I feel like it kind of, like this could be a much better game if the combat was a little more in depth, I guess. But that said, I'm gonna keep playing it. I don't know. So, Jason, have you finished it yet, or are you
just about? Yeah, I'm
Okay.
wrapping things up, and yeah, I should be done this week probably.
Cool.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward.
I've heard people. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'm looking forward to playing it before the end of the year. It's just I've been playing so many open world games lately. Like I did the terrible thing of like trying to dive. I'm like, oh, I need an open world game. I'm gonna play Assassin's Creed Odyssey because I never really got into that, and I was just like, there's so many numbers and this map is so big, and I just need something to hold my hand right now. But I feel like that game, I don't know. I feel like that game needs to be. I feel like I need to play that game. I used to be, I was a fucking nerd, weeb, tween, or whatever, obsessed with Japanese culture, like you are if you're a white kid in California. So I feel like
any kid in California,
any kid, yeah.
I don't know that it necessarily would satisfy that particular aspect. I think it's cool in some ways and all that. Jason, I've heard people describe Act 2 as just like a massive grind of just like it is like this interminable part of the game. And so I got to like the start of Act 2, did a couple of little things, and I was like, all right, I should just stop, because as I'm watching it unfold, I'm like, oh man.
It feels like you're doing the same thing that you were in Act 1, and it's just a repeat of that. You're building up your forces to take on another,
right,
like castle or whatever. So get through that one as fast as possible, and then at the end of that, it heats up a little bit. Yeah.
There's a
little spicy.
I feel like there's, looking through the trophies and stuff like that, I feel like they're all incredibly attainable. And so there's some part of me that looks at it and goes like, well, with the way that they've built in the way to find collectibles and all that stuff, like, man, I could get all these trophies.
Yeah.
But I don't.
Those chases I've given up on those. I don't know. I don't find myself chasing after trophies that often. So
yeah.
It's too much of my time. Sorry.
Fair enough. What's up with Pokemon Go?
Yo, let me just update something real quick. Pokemon Go Fest was this weekend. Pokemon Go Fest is normally like a big event type of deal for Niantic. I think last year was in Chicago, so they sectioned off a whole chunk, a big ass park in Chicago, and just they'd sell tickets. It was like a whole event. It was kind of like a music festival, right? But for Pokemon Go. And exclusive Pokemon were available. There were exclusive raids, like a bunch of stuff that wouldn't be available in the US was like available if you're playing there. And, because of quarantine and shelter in place this year, they obviously couldn't hold it in a physical location. So they decided to just, we'll open up the floodgates. We'll charge everyone $15 if you want to play for Pokemon Go Fest for 2 days. And I gotta say, it's like the most fun I've had with the game since like the initial boom. So like what it was is the first day, at least, it went from 10 p.m. or 10 a.m. our time to 8 p.m. So it was a long ass thing. And like my partner and I, we played for the whole damn time. So every hour, at least on the first day, there'd be like a different kind of biome available. So the first hour would be water Pokemon, and if you used an incense, which is kind of like a lure, you'd attract more Pokemon, and you'd attract Pokemon that weren't normally available to your region, and like that would go on throughout the day. And then on top of that, like they played a lot on the social aspects of the game. So if like 4 million people had sent gifts to their friends, we'll give everyone a bunch of bonuses or XP bonuses.
Cool.
So like that was like pretty fucking awesome. And my partner and I, we wound up. Yes.
How are you playing in your living room now? Like, how are they doing this with?
They've increased the spawn rates for like Pokemon in general. Item that you use in the game now, like incense, it like attracts more Pokemon to your location. So you could play it all from home.
Okay.
My partner and I, we wound up going to Golden Gate Park, just like making like the same loop in like the woods, and like the raids there, like the raid Pokemon that were available were Pokemon that haven't been available for like a couple months, and they're actually like really strong ones. And throughout the day, they'd switch up the biome, so you'd be getting Pokemon you normally wouldn't be able to get, which was like pretty neat. And the second day, like it all turned into like a PvE type of thing. So, you can fight Team Rocket in the game now, and like the fighting in the game is like very basic. It's all like tapping, and then like you still have to deal with some of the elemental like differences and advantages. But there you, oh goodbye Ben.
Sorry Ben.
He Pokemon went.
Pokemon Ben, the event's over. You can't do it anymore. And from there, it's like you'd have to like build up your Team Rocket stuff. Enough like badges to fight like a leader, and like it was like a whole tiered like checklist type of deal, of like constantly trying to defeat more Pokemon like or Team Rocket grunts to get to a leader, and then from a leader you'd get like special bonus shadow Pokemon, and then from there you'd like fight the Giovanni, who's like the big leader of Team Rocket, and then you could get like a Shadow Mewtwo, and it's probably the most like engaged I'd been with the app. And I don't know if it's because the carrot on the stick was like a little shorter because of the weekend and like the little bonus. That was just kind of like getting that more like that dopamine kicking in of like,
there's that main line.
Yeah. And yeah, we were in Golden Gate Park for like both days. We didn't do the second day, the full day, because we were just like wiped from the first day. Like we're just walking around from 10 to 8. But it was the most I'd seen people playing Pokemon Go, and like we're all just like silently acknowledging each other like behind masks, like hey, thanks, cool, thanks for help with the raid. And yeah, it was pretty awesome. Like I honestly hope they next year, if the state of the world isn't that we're constantly on fire and have to stay at home, I honestly hope they adopt this for next year's Pokemon Go Fest, because it's really neat, and it gives people the opportunity that don't have the extra funds to go to a Chicago, and I think like the year before that was in Europe, that don't have the funds or like the time to take off. They could just do it at home, because I'd seen like a lot of people saying like, hey, like I was able to do this whole event like on the job, like at my desk, which is pretty awesome for them to come across Pokemon they wouldn't be able to get into. And also, I finally fucking went up a level, and I'd been on level 34 for like the better part of a year and a half. So
Good Lord.
Those XP bonuses were clutch.
That does sound pretty good. I mean, so it was like $15 to get in, and then incense ain't free, is it?
So they've added like daily quests and stuff, and then some of the quests specifically for the event gave you just a bunch of incense and like a bunch of revives. So if you didn't have some stored up, the game was pretty generous with giving you those items. Like a lot of my Pokemon had been dead for a while because I just didn't have any revives. But the second day,
fucking grim.
There's no Pokemon Center in Pokemon Go, man.
Oh man.
And so I was finally able to bring back some of my like heavier hitters for the second day, since it was so combat focused. And like the social aspect, it actually like had like a high score type of deal. So like one of the bonuses for the hour is like who's thrown the most great balls, and like there was like a kind of like a leaderboard going on. So it's like more incentivizing more like interactivity with your friends, I guess. And like I had a friend that like casually plays it like once in a while, and like he sends me a gift, I'll send him a gift. But he told me like, yo, I actually like spent the $15. I was just at home and I had a bunch of fun. So it was neat.
Who was at the top of the Great Balls leaderboard?
Randy Johnson.
It was actually a Giant Bomb user I'm friends with. So shouts out to you.
Cool.
Yeah, it was neat. Like it made me feel like the initial like rush and wave of Pokemon Go, however many years ago that was.
Yeah, that's cool. That's good that they found a way to do that event. I mean, I'm sure it was also like very lucrative for them to be able to have a $15 thing in game that was this time limited thing. So that makes sense. Have you caught them all? I mean, no, no. But you're closer now because you were able to catch out of region Pokemon, right? So
I'm just a skosh closer now, folks.
Yeah,
just a skosh closer now. I finally got my Gibbles. Finally got a Garchomp.
Delicious.
Darumaka, I realize now I know it looks like that little Japanese doll with like the painted eyes. Now I think Darumaka is like a dancing chicken nugget, and that sounds fun.
That does sound. I mean, it's like haunting in a way.
A little bit.
As a fan of eating chicken nuggets, I would not necessarily want them to dance. I would feel bad.
What if they danced into your mouth? You just kind of lay there with your mouth
I'd feel
open.
bad if they were just like,
we're loving this, da 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 da.
And they're like suicidal, and they're just like, eat me and my suffering.
It's not that they're necessarily suicidal. It's just they don't know anything else than to be consumed.
Right.
I feel like I would want to show them a world beyond consumption.
Sounds like a Ghibli movie. You befriend a little anthropomorphic food and free it.
Yeah, it's like, no, man, come on, 20 piece, we're getting out of here. And then we break back in to break out all the other chicken nuggets.
We're still congealing.
And then there's a cat bus.
Is it
Mayor McCheese is on your ass trying to throw you in jail.
Does the chicken nugget come to life when it's cooked or like pre-cooked?
I think it comes alive when it like hops out of the fryer and then jumps into a sauce packet, and that determines its personality. You know, there's like the sweet and sour is kind of like flirty. You got like a ranch who's a cowboy. I don't know. I'm still workshopping all the sauces. You got the Szechuan sauce guy, and he's a real character. Let me tell you,
cool but rude. Szechuan sauce.
He turned himself into a pickle. It's hilarious.
Well, here's a natural transition for that. Meme Run 2 is out.
What?
Holy smokes.
Hold on. I got to see this for myself.
There's a sequel to Meme Run available on Steam.
Excellent. Just Steam? What was it on?
It was on the Wii U. It was on the Wii U, and it got pulled. It got pulled off of the store because they didn't. And so I guess the developers of it did not own the memes they put in the game.
No.
These are custom memes. I'm looking now.
And so who owns a meme? And so yes, Meme Run 2 is full of a lot of and I don't think this plays. It's full of a lot of custom memes, a lot of
homages. Looks like a lot of homages to other memes.
Exactly. So it's like here's this bootleg version of a meme.
Oh man.
And I think it's a really busted concept. Because
Jason,
it's like,
can you tell me exactly how much Meme Run 2 costs?
Yeah, that's $4.20, Ben.
Yeah, so they put that out. Maybe I'll stream some of that this week. I don't know. It's the same game. It's the same thing of just like and it only has keyboard support. It's fucking terrible. It's a nightmare.
Has it been funny?
No.
Meme Run has never been funny.
Yeah. But also like I think the funny thing about Meme Run was the ecosystem it created in a way was that they made this thing, they filled it full of a bunch of like stuff that they did not own. Like I think they used the real like Call of Duty hit marker sound effect in that game.
Yep.
Because
the Wombo clip.
Yeah, the Wombo. Yeah, like there's just a lot of stuff in that game that like they clearly didn't own. And so eventually someone said like, "Hey," and so it got pulled off the eShop. And so it's still on my Wii U. So much like people are selling PT, like here's a PS4 with PT on it. I feel like my Wii U is now worth like $4.20.
Nice.
And it also had a Miiverse. I mean, the Meme Run Miiverse was full of a lot of fun drawings. For whatever that's worth.
I love fun drawings.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't? And so the idea that they made a Meme Run 2, hey, of course they did, because that first one it was like weirdly, I think my understanding is that it was weirdly successful, and then it getting pulled down off the eShop gave it like a new life as like this fucking contraband ass fucking video game. How did Nintendo allow this? Like that aspect of the story, I think was interesting as well. And so I will say that their little Illuminati guy that they did for this one, I like the art on it. I like his little run animation. It's like it's not bad.
Pyramid guy.
Yeah, okay. It's like it's decent work. I look at it and go like, look at this guy. He should be in Rad. Doesn't Rad have a Pyramid Head guy? No, Nuclear
Rad.
Throne. Yes, Rad. Everyone's talking about Rad. I was thinking of Nuclear
year?
Throne. Nuclear Throne has a Pyramid guy. Was Rad this year?
No. It can't have been.
I
Please,
don't,
God.
because I feel like we did 2 videos for Brad.
Yeah, I did an unfinished before it was out, and then Brad did the quick look.
Rad was last year.
Okay.
Rad was last August. Rad is almost a year old. Okay.
Happy almost birthday.
Yeah, happy almost birthday to Rad. Rad. Rad did not seem like a game that needed to happen.
Rad was bad.
It's not bad. It's just like,
bad.
hey, here's. Yeah, it was kind of bad. It was kind of bad. Hey, has anyone played Carrion?
Matt Rory did, right?
Yeah, a little bit. You talk about it. I
have not played it. I just saw the Switch, the logo, the box art for it on Switch, and was like,
yeah, that's something.
And I don't know. People seem into it. I want to check it out. And I have not.
I remember watching y'all play it on UPF, and it seemed badass. I do want to get my hands on it.
Yeah, it's on Game Pass, right? Is it?
It is.
It is on it's on Game Pass. So all right, cool. I will check that out on Game Pass. Not on Game Pass though. Paper Mario. Ben, you want to talk about Paper Mario? I'm told.
Yeah, I've been playing more Paper Mario. Continuing to have a really good time with it. I think last week I was pretty early. I had just kind of gotten out of the first zone. Now I'd say I'm about halfway through with it, and it continues to be delightful. It continues to be like the game I'm putting most of my time into. It's a lot of aspects that I didn't like about it are kind of growing on me. I think that the character relationships are a lot stronger. I thought, initially the first companion you meet, I thought was a little paper thin. I'm so sorry.
I know. Woo. Yeah.
He's paper.
Okay. I was thinking of something else. I'm disgusted.
Anyways, I think the main problem I'm having with it right now is something that last week Tam kind of brought up as a possibility, just kind of asking me, like, do you think the combat ever evolves enough to keep it fresh? And I think right now, not really. Outside of boss battles, which are all very unique, they all have a twist on the system that I think is really cool. I'm starting to get to the point where I am purposefully avoiding as many battles as I can, just because I've kind of figured it out. Like I really kind of understand how these puzzles work. I can get the perfect lineup pretty much every time. Because I've seen enough of the same patterns over and over again. And, the enemies get more health and you get better weapons to deal with them, but I'm not really engaged with that. They do make up for that quite a bit by making the actual dungeons of the games full of stuff that's not combat. There's a lot of, so kind of the second zone is like a theme park, and it's split into 2 zones, like and the outside zone is sort of like this mini trade up game where you're like going from different area to different area. You're just exploring all these houses. You're running around. There's maps everywhere. There's like the souvenir shop and this little mini game shop, and you'll pop in and you'll do a mini game. It'll give you another item to go talk to somebody else, and there'll be a couple battles here and there. But like I'm doing my best to just kind of avoid those, because it's like that point you get in a traditional RPG where like you're way more powerful than the enemies you're encountering, and it's just a hassle, and you're like, I've already fought these guys, I don't want to fight these guys again. I'm kind of bored of it. I think as long as the bosses remain interesting, I'm gonna keep playing it. I don't dislike the combat. It's just a little tedious at this point, I think, especially when you're like up against a wave battle and you have to do it like 5 or 6 of these fights in a row sometimes. It can be a bit much. The other bummer I ran into was something I saw people talking about, but it hadn't happened to me yet until that dungeon I was just talking about. And the game has some fail states in it that aren't really telegraphed, and you just straight up die, like out in the overworld, not even like in battle. Like,
wow.
There's one part where I got crushed by something, and it was like, oh, what's gonna happen? And it put me back to my last save, which was, I don't know, like a half hour before then. I like legitimately lost that half hour. And this is a game where I died in combat once, up in, like 15 hours into it. It's not a difficult game, but then like all of a sudden, boom, I just like wasn't paying attention, and I lost a half hour of progress. Had to do a major fight over again, and then I was back there. So that's kind of a bummer. Like, I would rather that not have that.
Can you save anywhere?
No, there are save blocks, and they're very generous. They're like spread out. Had I known that this sort of thing existed, I could have gone back after the battle and saved again. But I was just like, I'm going to go to the next save point because I haven't gotten the game over yet.
Hubris.
Yeah, and there are autosaves. Yeah, somebody in the chat did point out that there are like autosaves before like major like boss fights and stuff like that, which are very generous. But yeah, I don't know. I still really like the game. It's still really funny. I'm still having fun running around collecting the toads. They kind of keep introducing new overworld elements. Like you get a ship eventually, and that's like a whole new traversal system, and you get other stuff. I don't want to spoil all of it, but like they keep playing around with the open world formula / format, and I think like more often than not, it's a hit.
Cool. Yeah, I have. That's another game I am in possession of, but just haven't had time to look at. That I will probably put behind a carrion and get into once I'm done with some of this other stuff. Once I'm done with Meme Run 2, there's a lot of characters to unlock. So
I've lost my Switch though. Like I know where it is. It's in my son's hands. But it's not mine anymore. It's his.
How's he like handling the like combat, the puzzle stuff?
He's been watching a Let's Play of it, and he knows like what he has to go do. So he just like fast forwards through the dialogue. But he jumps between like that game and Smash, and I just got him Spyro last night. He's playing that right now. And then Odyssey, of course. He's still playing a ton of, but yeah, that's I'm never going to see that thing again.
Well,
it's gone. It's gone now.
So at some point, Switches will go on sale. At some point, they'll knock the price down. You get another one. It always felt like that was like, hey, if this thing's going to be a handheld, they're going to need to. Families are going to end up fighting over them, and here we are.
You're gonna have to buy a new one for you, Jason.
Yeah,
that's his.
You have to buy your own.
That is his. But how do I switch my account? I gotta switch. Oh man, I gotta.
Oh god.
So I went through.
I'm gonna have to rebuy the game for him. Like, how am I gonna transfer the save? God damn it.
That'll be some of that stuff. Will be some of that stuff sucks.
Messy.
Some of that stuff definitely sucks. That was when the Switch Lite came out. I got one for my wife, and and wanted to do the thing of like, okay, I'm going to put my account on it, and it's going to be my main account is going to be on hers, so she can play my games.
Your games.
And then I just need to be online with mine, which is fine because I never take it anywhere. And that worked most of the time until we ran into some stuff with Animal Crossing where it was like, yeah, you both can't play this at the same time.
Damn.
I'm like, shit, fuck.
Yeah.
And so I had bought her own Animal Crossing, which is the only thing she wanted to play. And then she promptly hated it. So great. And so now she's just at a point where once a week or so, she just says like, well, where the fuck is Bayonetta 3? Why aren't there any fucking video games?
So she's like
asking the real questions.
Nintendo Direct.
Yes. Yes, exactly. No, she doesn't. She just wants Bayonetta 3. That's it. That's the only thing.
I blame her.
And I was like, I don't know. If they came out tomorrow and said this game's canceled, I would believe it at this point. I know they came out recently, so like, no, we're still working on it. I just don't know I don't know.
I hope it comes like when it eventually comes. I hope it comes with like super special Joy-Cons that are like way too big and cumbersome.
And they look like Bayonetta's shoes.
Yeah.
And you put them on there, and then you step on your face with the Switch. I need this. I need this for me. Let's take a break.
Yeah.
And we'll get into some news. Stay tuned. We'll be back soon. We are back, and now it is time for the news. Breaking news at this hour.
All that beautiful bean footage.
Yeah. Hit him with
They got hit with it.
Bean race.
Face full of beans.
That's news.
Gun.
I found a can of beans in my car, and I don't know how it got there.
Oh, this is the Bean Fairy.
Oh, yeah. You got freaking
blessed
beans
by the Bean Fairy.
Yeah.
Look out for the bean burglar, though.
Oh no.
Yeah. It's me.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fine.
I'm the bean burglar. If you see me around your shit, I'm coming up on them beans.
Gross.
No, not like.
Oh.
All right. Let's get into the news. Microsoft, creators of hit operating systems such as MS-DOS and Microsoft Bob, have a new video game machine hitting the streets later this year. It's called X. It's an Xbox.
Xbob.
No. I assume it'll run some variant of Microsoft Bob, but I don't know for sure. They showed off games for the Xbox Series X, which is
games.
What do you think? Hey,
did they show off games plural for the Xbox Series X?
Or did they show off game? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Did they check out game? I don't. There was Okay, I'm scrolling through this list. Ori, that was gameplay. They showed off games.
Okay.
I guess the car stuff was in engine, right?
Yes, it was. Yes. And they had some third parties. They had some State of Decay trailer. Anyway, they had their event. This was meant to be the 2 and the 1-2 punch of the third party event they had last time that people were not thrilled about, and this was the one that they promoted as like, you're going to see Halo, and then they sure enough opened with Halo. Do you think? Okay, what are we going to call it? I guess we'll just call it Xbox. But like, okay, if they're going to put out two Xbox consoles, I know they don't like to pluralize Xbox over there, as I understand it. Maybe that's changed, but if they are going to put out the Xbox Series X and then something that is probably called the Xbox Series S or Series, B, like E, whatever they want to call it. What are we going to call it? Because right now they just talk about like, oh, this is coming to the Series X. But like when they have to also say like, hey, it's coming to the
you're right,
this family of consoles, what do they call it?
Senior and junior.
Yeah.
The series is the
series
X series.
It's coming to the Xbox Series. Will the real name of the console just be the Xbox Series? Because we will just call it, it's coming to the Xbox, but does that mean they will then say like, this is coming to Windows PC, Xbox One, and Xbox? Is that how this eventually?
Oh, boy.
That was a great dream, right? But
yeah,
then they're muddling up with the series stuff.
Like, will the series stuff roll off the tongue weird when there are more than one of them? Because right now it's very easy for them to talk about like, oh, it's coming to the Xbox Series X, which is the name of our new console. But when there's like, oh, by the way, there are two of them, is that weird?
You can say Windows PC, Series X, and Series S, right?
How would you know if you're coming in fresh, which is like the more powerful one?
You wouldn't. It's a terrible.
Look, if you present anyone with the two letters, if you present anyone with any two letters, what's a more powerful letter than X?
3 X's.
Okay, yeah.
Like an S. I would say an S because I think of like tier lists and
S ranks. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Like
okay.
top.
Okay.
But But we're thinking that the S is going to be the weaker than the X, right?
Yes, that would be the theory, is that the
This is
Lockhart
why
console
Microsoft
would be,
consoles do not sell in Japan.
it's all in the S. It's all up that S. So no, what's a more powerful letter than an X? I see what you're saying about S, but also I think if you person on the streeted this and walked up to people and just said like X and S and just Times New Roman, these two letters, which is more powerful?
X.
100%.
Yeah. I don't think there is a more powerful letter than X.
I like a K. I like K. I like a K.
Oh, if we dip into the Greek alphabet, we could do like a sigma.
Omega.
Omega.
Oh, yeah.
Omega is pretty.
Xbox Omega.
If they said, here's the Xbox Omega, that's like.
I would get an Xbox tattoo across my face.
Yeah. If they call something the Xbox Omega, you will get an Xbox tattoo on your face.
XBOX.
Right.
Oh, what if the Omega is the O in Xbox?
Look at a hat too.
Okay. So I like the branding. I think that's a possibility. Wait, isn't the Omega the symbol that is commonly associated with God of War?
Oh, they probably trademarked it.
I don't know that we can. I don't know. It might
Xbox Lambda.
What if you just add like a plus?
I mean, Gabe Newell was just on some TV show saying that he thought the Xbox was more powerful. So Lambda is right there. Let's do it. Anyway, what the fuck are we talking? Xbox. Talking about that Xbox.
They showed a Halo.
You excited about that Xbox? You excited about these HD video games?
They're making it really hard for me to get excited about this new Xbox. And I was all for it, but now I don't know if I need to get it right away. Maybe I can wait, because they're making it very, very easy for me to just hang back and wait and just play games on my old Xbox.
They're empowering you, the player.
Yes, I feel empowered to maybe not sit out this generation, but sit out the launch.
Yeah, maybe. I think that's the thing that came out of this. If we talk about it as an overall, of everything they showed, I think the general consensus was like, this is a great ad for Game Pass.
Yep.
Yeah. I wound up picking up Game Pass.
Yeah. Like this. And that's honestly, that is their goal. They'll be happy to sell hardware. They are making what looks like to be pretty decent hardware, pretty good hardware, very capable hardware. But at the end of the day, they're looking at the overall number of people that could potentially play their games, and they're looking at it in terms like, we want people to be able to play these Xbox games on their phone. We want them to be able to play it on an Xbox One if that's possible, whether it's natively, and maybe they bring streaming stuff to old Xboxes to entice people to play newer stuff.
Sure.
They are playing for the ecosystem in a way that no one else is right now. Maybe Google to a certain extent, but
I honestly think it's a great call, because of the way video games have been moving is a lot more of games are ecosystems now, right? So like, if you aren't necessarily buying the $60 game up front, but that you're paying $15 for this month, and that in 2 months there's going to be a content update, and in 2 months after that there's going to be another content update. You're like, okay, I guess I'll keep this Xbox Gold train running, and then
it gets removed from Game Pass, and you have to buy it, but you do get that discount or whatever. Sure. But like, it's a decent point that, like, as more and more games become always online and connected service games and all this other stuff, like, what do you own? What's on the disc anyway? If the servers can just get shut down, it's a grim but very real. That's just how games kind of are now. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And I think that like that, it's an interesting proposition for them. I mean, they're making new hardware because they have to. They need to have a new target to spec, and there are people who are going to want that. And I think it's like the console itself, I think, is enticing. I think my issue comes when we look at this event and break it down game by game and look at the stuff they showed or didn't show, especially when we look at the dates on some of the games or the lack of dates. I think a lot of it starts to get muddy. And They opened with Halo. You know, they opened with a Halo demo. They opened with a title screen that made it look very much like someone is sitting down and playing them some Halo. And I thought it looked like something I want to play, and I think it looks fine. But at the same time, as the post-show kind of, they released the screenshots, and as people started picking it apart and stuff like that, there was definitely stuff of just like, you're right, the gun looks like shit. Like the gun does not, like the gun model doesn't look as good as some past Halo games. They're just like aspects of it that you're just like,
that's crazy.
There's weird things about it that I look at. And then, then they also had a a version of their behind closed doors like E3 demo of just like, hey, we're going to walk you through the demo again and maybe talk about it a little bit more. It sounds like they didn't have much to say talking to Brad about it. Brad sat in on that or called into that or whatever it was. And sounded like they did not really give much additional information there, other than that they're kind of looking at the game as a spiritual reboot of Halo in that they're trying to make the game that, like, when you think now what Halo 1 was in your head, it's not what Halo 1 actually was.
Of course not.
Yeah. But they are trying to make the game that is in your head as Halo 1.
Okay.
So trying to make it, bigger and more extravagant, but like returning to that kind of open environment aspect. And that's why it's kind of sort of an open world game now to some extent. And I think that's interesting, but also as someone who, when I think of Halo 1 in my head, I think, the game was okay. Like it wasn't until I think it wasn't until Halo 3 that they really kind of nailed the formula. And then they had an amazing trilogy of games on the Xbox 360 and then kind of lost their way a little bit after that. And so to say like we want to make this big open game that reminds you of Halo 1, I'm a little more like, that's not necessarily.
Well, picture that game, but better. Picture that game plus a grappling hook.
And honestly, like watching their goofy ass grappling hook moves of fucking real people in and melee them and all that stuff, I'm like,
that seems cool.
That's
really fast. It's kinetic. It's like, it feels like Halo.
And it kind of, like if you think about it, a grappling hook in that sense kind of does the thing that you want. It's why they felt the need to add running to Halo at some point, or some kind of like movement ability of like, oh, you have these jump jets or this dash, or to close the gap on an enemy. But why not just reel them into you or reel you into them with a grappling hook? Like I think that's maybe a better way to solve that problem while still having the rest of the game play like Halo, but maybe it still has running in it. I don't know. I'd have to go back and watch the footage again or something to see. But I don't know. Like that looked like a game I want to play. I came away from that saying like, I'll absolutely play Halo. And they're putting it on PC. They're putting it on Steam. It's weird to see a Steam page for Halo Infinite.
I agree with you. I came away from that looking at it being like, I want to play this, but it was definitely not I want to buy a console for this game. Totally. Right. It wasn't anywhere close to that for me.
And I think that's the interesting thing about it is like, that's not their pitch.
Right.
Their pitch isn't necessarily you have to buy a console for this. They're like, some people will buy a console for this. Some people will play it on the console that came out several years ago. Some people may have a PC that will run this game in some kind of range between those two extremes or beyond, or whatever. And I think that's a pretty appealing way to go. I think it's like, it makes a lot of sense. And I think it helps get the game in front of more people, which I think is smart. I think it feels fresh in a way of like, hey, we're not necessarily just sticking in the traditional console business. We're trying to do different stuff. We're trying to in ways that will help get games out to more people. And I think that is a cool idea, and we'll see how it goes. I don't think the PC Game Pass stuff has been tremendous yet. It's getting better, but it's still kind of funky, and the selection isn't always great. You're still dealing with something that at least sort of resembles the Windows 10 store.
God damn it.
I know. And yeah, I don't know, but like that, but also PC Game Pass has come leaps and bounds since they first put it out. So, like they're like everything with Microsoft over the last like 5 or 7 years, it seems like they're getting there. I think for me, the part where this whole event seemed weird was that this seemed like the event that you look at and go like, here it is. This is all the cylinders they've lined up for all the last several years of figuring out what Game Pass is and figuring out backwards compatibility in a more meaningful way. Like all the other stuff that they have been trying to execute on as part of their message of like, like as soon as the Xbox One wasn't the lead console, they kind of quickly switched their messaging to be like, oh, we've got a lot of engaged users on our platform. It wasn't about hardware sales, because it's a losing comparison for them. But to their credit, they're sticking by it even as they roll into a new generation. In terms of just like, no, we were serious that these are the metrics we care about. And it's like, okay, it's a different approach, and I think that's kind of cool. But that's all very dependent on the games being good. And I don't know. It was interesting to see people pick apart. I did not expect to see, maybe I should have, no matter what the games looked like, but I did not expect to see someone photoshopping Wall Guy into a Halo Infinite screenshot and to look at it and go like, yeah. But that one screenshot looks pretty rough.
With the way this event went down and the way they're kind of positioning, people to get into the Game Pass ecosystem, do you think maybe the price will be less than people think? Or do you think they're still going to charge maybe like $550, $600, $650 because they know people will want to buy a new console?
I think the Xbox Series X will be expensive. It's not going to be like they'll have the theoretically, and we're talking about unannounced stuff that it seems like this is the direction they're heading. But theoretically, they will have the Xbox Series S or the Lockhart console or something that is a more reasonably priced system for people that are budget conscious. And then from there, you've got like, well, if you want to play Halo, you can technically play it on an Xbox One as well. And so if they then say like, here's get your $499 Xbox Series X, or less or more depending on what they think they can get away with, and comparing to Sony and some of that other stuff. Like, I think they'll still have that system. They'll have to charge for it. It's a powerful machine, and that will cost money. They're not going to just give them away. But that lower tier model, like they probably want to get as close to giving those things away as possible. They probably want to get to a place where you can just get in via xCloud, play on a smart TV, play on a phone, play on something that, where you're just like, whatever, you're not even buying a console at that point, and you can still play all of these Game Pass games. And, I think they'll get there with that stuff, but that's not, that's they've got some steps to knock out ahead of that stuff, I think. But yeah, I think that they will. I don't think they're going to be dramatically more expensive than whatever the PlayStation 5 ends up costing. I think they will do everything they can to come in under that number if they can afford to, if only to just kind of put it to Sony and try to put this thing to bed out of the gate. I think they have that. There's that vibe to it. Like there's been too many years of them trying to line up all these dominoes for them to fuck up at the end and just come in too expensive. So I think that they'll have a price that probably makes sense. It'll be a chunk of money, but
100%.
Yeah, but it's not like they're going to be like you're not going to wake up one morning and find that the PlayStation 5 is like, $600 and the Series X is like $900. It's not going to be something like that. Because then at that point, people should just build a PC, which maybe people should just build a PC. State of Decay 3, they showed a little bit of that. And
Brad seemed excited.
Yeah. I could never really get into those games, but it's cool that they have continued to find an audience for that, and they're going to keep making more of them. Like cool. Yeah, I think this stuff kind of like, hey, they're going to make a new Forza, which makes a ton of sense because Turn 10 took a year off, and I think you want to be able to show a car game with your console, but that's a game that's not dated. That was a game I figured would have been a launch game. I wonder. Right. It's a question. It's a question from Microsoft that I hope we will get to ask at some point here, and not too far off. Is how much has Game Pass changed the way they release games on from a schedule perspective? Because like we tend to think about it like, oh, you got to try to like bulk up at launch, which I think that's something that we keep in our heads. But if you go back and look at like what were the first party launch games for the PS4 or the Xbox One or the N64 or whatever, it's never a lot of games. It's never a large number of games from first party. It's always like, here's a couple. We got the Pilot Wings too. If Mario 64 for some reason is not enough for you, asshole, then hey, we got Pilot Wings also. Like that sort of thing. Or like, yeah, we got Perfect Dark Zero, I guess.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Xbox One launch games right now, and
Rise
5.
I feel like there was like a decent chunk of first party stuff for the Xbox One. That was something because if you look at like, was it like Crimson Dragon, Loco Cycle, like at least in terms of numbers, like I'm not going to tell you that those games are great, but like Zoo Tycoon,
Killer Instinct,
of course, yeah,
World Party,
yeah. They actually had a in terms of numbers, I feel like they they'd Rise, Dead Rising 3 was them technically, and. Yeah, Rise. I don't know. Yeah, I'd rather play Cameo. I would.
Ooh,
Cameo's not bad.
Yeah,
Cameo's not a great game. Cameo is not bad. Cameo is an acceptable video game. At worst, the bottom is like a
Yeah,
it was a good launch title, I think.
Yes, I'll take it over Knack.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Hey.
7 days a week.
Knack 2 is pretty okay.
No Cameo sequel though.
Right.
They showed a little bit more of Rare's game Everwild. And but really it was just kind of like game with not a ton of details. And I think that's the thing people want now is like it's cool to see these games coming out, and some of these have already been announced, and I don't think they necessarily showed new stuff on all these games that really moved the needle. It was like, like they're continuing to show these games, and they're going to optimize Ori for Series X, which, like, of course, why not? Why wouldn't you? It's already on PC, so sure. Grounded, they showed, which is Obsidian's new small kid in big world game, and that's actually, I think that's out today, actually.
Oh, really?
Wait, what?
For the Xbox One, I believe that is out today in some kind of preview early access state. Avowed, which looks like if Obsidian was to try to make something that you could look at and try to go like, oh, it's like a Skyrim, which who knows if it's actually that or not. But
you got one hand that does magic, you got one hand that's a sword, bada bing, bada boom, there's skeletons.
What if I put the sword in the magic hand? Then what happens?
It's a magic sword.
What?
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
They should do that. They should do that. Stalker 2 has been revived, and word on it being revived, I think, was not necessarily new news, but it was a deeper look at the game than I think anyone's had in a while, and it's cool that they're going to make a Stalker 2. I'm way into a game called The Gunk from the SteamWorld people. It is not SteamWorld Gunk. It is The Gunk.
I want to live in it.
The Gunk.
In Germany, it's
The Gunk.
Das Gunk.
Das Gunken, I think, is the
gunk truck. Yum.
That's hey, Tetris is coming to that Xbox.
Yep.
With multiplayer.
Yep.
And so they've got some they're carving out some exclusive stuff here and there, where the multiplayer, the connected version of Tetris, which is what they're calling the update, that'll be exclusive to this version of the game for something like a year.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe, I guess by the time it's out, maybe it'll be more like half a year or something like that.
Okay.
Because that's next summer. The other platforms will get that.
Heck of a lead time. Dang.
Yeah. Well, that's if you think about how Sony did its deals with that studio for Rez and for Tetris, like they kept
Oh,
res
sure.
off other platforms for basically a year, and Tetris was similar.
Okay.
They're making a new Vermintide, but 40,000 years in the future.
All right.
That's
yeah. What are you squashing this time? Just like space orcs
rats.
or what?
Space orcs
rats.
instead of orcs, I guess.
Okay.
So that makes them orcs with a K, right? Or the 40K orcs with a K?
Oh, I don't know.
And then
Even asking a single question about Warhammer 40,000, you have invited it upon us, and we are doomed. We are doomed.
40K. I didn't even play 39,999. So if I haven't played the other games in the franchise, I don't know, it doesn't make any sense. I didn't play Warhammer 1.
It was on the Xbox 359.
Cool. Yeah, I don't know. You liked Vermintide.
Yeah.
So what if you had guns?
Yeah,
What if
and I
you were
mean those
Space
games
Marines?
already like it's already a pretty 50-50 split between like ranged characters. There's the wizard and the elf versus melee characters, and so I know like chainsaw blades are a big thing in 40K, and I'm sure there's all sorts of other fucked up.
Do they ever mount those chainsaw blades on the bottom of a gun?
Who would do such?
I don't know.
It's like
I don't know anything
real
about
tight
40K.
at your enemies, just like
Yeah.
a good low center of gravity run.
Like you were trying to run on a stage and off again without anybody seeing you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, something like that.
But
I
could
think
you
it's
also theoretically walk and also communicate at the same time?
In this future generation of video games, I think all things are possible. So you could walk and talk, probably.
You're crazy. You're crazy.
Do Warhammers talk? Should they? Can an orc speak?
They shouldn't.
Is Warhammer a ship or a weapon? I don't know.
I mean, it sounds like a weapon. It sounds like you would swing it at a. Is there a Warhammer? Hey,
is there a single Warhammer?
Is there a Warhammer in Warhammer? Can you
That's
wield
what they're
a
fighting for.
If like it does an emperor is like could you do a Warhammer battle royale game, and then at the center of the circle is a literal Warhammer, and the first person to get it gets to kill everybody else with it, or and then you play as Triple H.
Like, is it a big hammer?
I would assume a Warhammer would be pretty okay if we take it as a hammer that could win a war. Or just wage. I guess if it's just a hammer that can wage war, that's any hammer, right?
Any hammer can wage
a
war.
hammer
Only
right
one
now.
hammer can win a war.
Yeah.
Warhammer.
There you go. That's the tagline. The Warhammer.
What if I just really believe that my hammer is the Warhammer? Does that make it the Warhammer? Is it all like a mental thing?
Probably.
I don't want to go into Warhammer lore, but I think I might after this.
And then I figure by the time we get 40,000 years in the future, that Warhammer has like a. If the original Warhammer has like electricity going off of it, the 40K Warhammer has cool neon tubes.
Yeah.
And it glows with the power of
war.
War. Yeah. It's seen so much war that it just has a new glow to it. It's a cyber hammer. Can we do like a cyber Warhammer 60K? Can we go like 80K? Can we go another 40,000 years? Like, why is there no third tier of Warhammer? I know not what Warhammer 40K will be fought with, but Warhammer 80K will be fought with sticks and stones.
So you're saying we're like it's cyclical, yeah.
Exactly.
Oh,
all right.
Shit.
They're gonna make a new Phantasy Star Online 2.
They need to.
Okay, Jeff. I know you ran the numbers, you did your math, you kind of just like spent probably a few days on this. What is it? What is that game?
Okay. Phantasy Star Online 2 New Genesis is what they're doing. Basically, instead of doing episode 7 because it's okay. So there are multiple episodes of PSO2. And I believe episode 4 will be launching next month in the game. So in Japan, they're up to like 6 or something. And so instead of continuing on in that framework, remember, PSO2 in Japan has been going for the better part of a damn decade at this point. So like a lot of long-running online games, at some point they go like, we need to overhaul this. And so you have like World of Warcraft will do like, here's our patch that fucking makes the graphics suck less. And instead of doing just that, they are making a new game that will run in parallel to the existing PSO. So New Genesis is a separate game that you will be able to take some of your character and some of your stuff into the new game. And it will kind of be the new... and they are making it a more open worldy kind of experience from the look of it, and they are changing things up. There will be a lot of gameplay changes, so a lot of techniques and things from the previous PSO2 will not work here, and a lot of the stuff, and they're not carrying over currency. You can't bring your fun into PSO2 New Genesis. You need to earn all new fun. And so there's like cosmetics and stuff that will carry forward. There are aspects of your character that will carry forward, but they are doing a full graphical overhaul, so your character will look sexier than ever.
Oh,
good.
Back on board.
These robots will fuck New Genesis.
Each other this time.
Hey guys, Sega's making a New Genesis. Just say that out loud, and how can you not get excited?
This is ridiculous. This is PSO finally coming out in the States after 8 long years, and now getting a complete and total overhaul.
And but not replacing PSO2. You'll still be able to play that content. That game will still exist. It's not like they're overhauling it and throwing it away.
I guess that's my question.
This is the game.
That's nuts.
Why this and not like, say, Phantasy Star Online 3?
It's a great question.
Okay.
It's a great question. Why you just call it PSO2 and put, because Phantasy Star Online 2 has actually been quite popular in Japan. And my understanding is that it's doing okay here. They're launching it on Steam next week. Yes, next Wednesday, I believe it is coming to Steam. Sequels to MMOs are strange. Like, you know, they never made a World of Warcraft 2. But Final Fantasy 14 sure did do something to fix their shit. And so, like, PSO2 is an old-ass game. And when you go and play it, if you're playing it fresh and new now, like, there's cool stuff. But it is the product of a lot of cruft and a lot of weird bullshit.
Yep.
That probably made sense if you were playing the game for that full 8-year run. But you look at it now as a new player coming into it, you're like, what the fuck is this?
It hurts
like
to
all
look at.
all the story content is cordoned off in these weird, just like, you can just watch cutscene, and occasionally there's a gameplay mission in there, but like, it's a totally separate progression from you and your character and the missions you're going on in the main game. It used to not be that way.
It's tacked on, like it's
exactly.
completely. It's so separate,
and it's used ridiculous. To not be. They pulled it out of where it used to be and threw it over onto the side, and it's bizarre, man. So like, there are a lot of choices they had to make with PSO2 over the years as it expanded and you know, was popular, and they expanded upon it and all this other stuff, that like a new player coming to it now, it's just a bunch of nonsense garbage, and it's not insurmountable. If you get into it, you can definitely get into it. So I think this is a chance for them to go like, oh, you know what, like, this will be a great new foundation for new players. Also, it'll be a chance for us to really get away from this 8-year-old tech and try to do something that is somewhat more modern, and it looks fucking cool. Like, like, it looks like more dynamic looking combat and all this other stuff. There are aspects of it that I think are super weird. Like, so they you know, they put out the video in this event where they're just like, hey, we're making PSO2 New Genesis, and they put like basically no details in there, and then had to put out a new trailer the following day that was like, here are the differences between the two games, and here's how they interact, because we understand that it is not easy to comprehend what the fuck we're doing. And so they know. Yeah. They know that this is nonsense and crazy. And I feel like they put out all their stuff, and I read it, and I feel like I understand what they're maybe trying to do. But again, I feel like for new players, you're just like, what even is this? But I think by the time they come out next year, like, that'll be the one to probably play, unless it sucks.
Right.
Yeah. And then you're like, well, okay, they fucked up this whole thing.
Do you think it will be, and this is maybe a hard question to answer, but do you think you'd be able to like jump in and play this if you weren't on board with PSO2 regular.
Maybe
That's the hope.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping for, certainly. Because I'm not down with what PSO2 is currently putting down. So I'm
it is still free to play,
right.
So
Yeah,
I suspect
I'm hoping they
still...
clean up some of those. Because man, everything was just like layer upon layer upon layer of like free to play stuff.
Yeah,
and it's egregious. Like it's
yeah.
Go ahead.
And the stuff they did, even so, the act of inviting someone to your clan, your
Sure.
whatever your in-game team or whatever it is, a player can apply to be a part of your team. What do they call them? It's not clan, it's not team. Anyway, your alliance is what we call them, alliances. Your posse, your juggalos,
your gang.
So they can apply to be a member of your gang. That sends you an in-game email that you can read, and it says, this player wants to join your shit. You should go to the terminal and do that. Like, there's no button in there that you can hit that says, okay, invite them, or okay, they can definitely come in. You have to then go to a different terminal, go up to the terminal, find the right menu entry, and then manually type that person's name in.
Cool.
And then try to send them a thing. And if they have already applied to multiple other alliances or have joined another alliance in the time since you got that email, it just fails out and says like, nah, they're already being scouted by 5 alliances. So you can't send them you cannot send them an invite. And so they then they reject all those and then send you another one a couple of days later. And you're like, oh, okay, I'll send them another one now. And then you get the same error message. And you're like, what the fuck am I even doing? It is just, that's just like one example of just like the menus in this game are nonsense, and it's just like so ridiculous, and there's so much bullshit that I feel like if they could have fixed it, they would have. There must just be like enough technical limitations with the system they built a zillion years ago that it would take too much work to fix it and make it manageable. So they just never did.
And doing an overhaul of the engine and getting kind of a fresh start is actually probably less work than trying to fix that stuff.
Right. And it's a better looking game, and it gives them a chance to freshen up the gameplay and do some other stuff that could be really cool. And so it's probably a good thing. It's just a very weird thing. And I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing more of it. And I hope they do right by it, because I know one of the details, and this is, I feel like, so the other thing is it's the 20-year anniversary of Phantasy Star Online. So this is them kind of like trying to, capitalize on that a little bit and have something for that anniversary or around that anniversary. One of the details that they put into there is you will still have a mag, but the mag does not have stats. So
just
the mag
cosmetic,
it's a little guy that flies behind you, and you feed it. You feed your mag. You have to feed you have got to feed your mag.
It's like a chow.
Yes, exactly. And it gains stats that then will influence your abilities and all this other stuff. And one of the things they said is basically like, your mag will come in to the new game, but it no longer has stats. And I don't know if that means it'll just reset the levels because they're doing it differently and there'll be a new thing to level up, or if they're like, you don't have to fucking feed your mag anymore. I'm like, wait a minute. I have been feeding a mag off and on for 2 goddamn decades.
Yep.
Do not come into my home and tell me not to feed my mag.
You're free, Jeff, though. They're trying to free you.
Is this not better? Like, I get it.
You're probably right. It probably is better. But God damn it.
I know.
I've spent so much time feeding my mag, even in this game, for them to come in and say like, your mag. My mag looks like a Sega Dreamcast.
That's
cute.
And my head looks like a weird boxy version of a Sega Saturn.
Well, I heard Sega is making a new Genesis, so
yeah, Sega's new Genesis is very popular. We've got high hopes for the new Genesis. Yeah, so I guess somewhat confusing.
a little bit, but I'm optimistic. I hope.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
I have
make good on this.
I have high hopes for it as well. And it looks good. Like looking at it, I'm like, okay, yeah, like that looks like a game I would want to play. It's like a spiritual. It's like the game when you think about that old game PSO2 in your head. It's not really the game it was, but you know, if you were making it, Fable, they're making a new Fable. They're also making a new Fable.
I think everyone kind of knew that. Right?
Yeah, like we were. I figured that they were going to announce that last year. At E3. They did not. Instead, they held it for this, and all they had to show for it was a cutesy little trailer that was just like, check it out, it's a bullfrog. Remember? Because bullfrog is Peter Molyneux.
Oh.
And
okay.
And didn't show any gameplay, and it was just like a little teaser. And so for this being a thing that everyone has kind of been, it's not quite, I wouldn't necessarily call it open secret territory, but a thing that was just like, no, this is, Playground Games is making a new game that is some kind of action-y RPG-ish sort of thing. And yeah, of course it's a Fable. Of course it's a Fable. And so then we got here, and of course it's a Fable, and they put a little fart in their trailer, so you know it's still goofy fun, which of course it is. I'm into the idea of Playground expanding to have multiple teams. I'm into the idea of a Fable reboot, all of those things. I just feel like what they showed was basically nothing. Like you know nothing about that game other than they're going to make a Fable, and I guess they're going to try to have a somewhat similar sense of humor. Or they're going to try to have, you know, it's going to attempt to be funny. And when Fable's been at its best, they've had some really funny stuff in there, some goofy shit. Like it's a very like dumb, not dumb's not the word. It's a very British sense of humor at times. And I have high hopes for it, but at the same time, man, what a
letdown.
Like just not a great way to announce it. Like I want to see more. So I guess in some sense they left them wanting more, but I feel like just overall the event,
that's exactly how I felt with the entire event. You know, they had been talking this up. Hey, we're going to show you games, and yeah, technically they did, but there wasn't a ton of gameplay, and that
was the thing they just got knocked for like a couple months ago when they said like we got Assassin's Creed gameplay, and you're like, no, you kind of don't.
And they're like, wait till you see what we got next. And then they, finished with that Fable 2, and it was just like, man, yeah.
yeah.
What am I supposed to be excited for?
Phantasy Star Online 2
New
Genesis.
There you go.
Multiplayer.
And yes, they're going to continue to make a new Halo that maybe will be all right.
The gunk.
The gunk. Yeah, so like I guess that's the thing. Like when you go down the list, they all look like, hey, these are games that look like things I want to at least check out, if not play to completion. Yeah. Like there's a decent number of things through that whole show that you go like, cool, man, yeah, those are games. But I think by presenting it separately as its own event instead of being part of some big old bomb drop of E3 stuff, you end up in a situation where like kind of the only thing they showed in any real depth was Halo, and people are picking that apart in a way that you're like, this, even that didn't look like something that showed as well as you had hoped, and like the messaging is murky. And coming out of this, there was a lot of stuff where like, oh, these websites that used to say a game was coming to Xbox One got updated, and now Xbox One is not on the list anymore. So what platforms are these going to run on? Microsoft had recently, not that long ago, committed to like continued support of the Xbox One with at least their own first party stuff. And then some of that stuff kind of vanished as they started yanking the words Xbox One off of some of these websites.
Just think about, like, compare it to Sony's most recent E3, whatever conference.
Yeah.
Which started out with that really stunning display of here's a new Ratchet game, right? And check this out. We've been talking about how this console is like all about getting rid of loading times and stuff. Check this out. We're hopping between worlds just right away. I remember all of us were like, wow, this looks like a new console video game. Sure. I mean, I'm ready to buy a PS5. I mean, sure, it matches their approaches where PS5 is very much the company trying to sell, or Sony is very much the company trying to sell PS5s. Microsoft is the company trying to get you to engage with Microsoft's services.
Yeah.
But like, if you're a video game fan, first and foremost, and like kind of a traditional one like us who look forward to new consoles and getting excited about new consoles, Xboxes were just a little underwhelming.
Yeah, it was a lot of games you look at and go like, hey, you know, these look like good modern PC games in a lot of cases, and you look at it and go like, yeah, no, this stuff looks fine, and I think maybe that's just part of like the process of just like when you look at a PS5 game, you know, it may come to other platforms, but Sony's not going to necessarily show it that way or frame it that way. They're going to be like, these are PlayStation 5 games, and so it's a much simpler message. Because it is the same message that they have been delivering for decades, and the same message everyone has been delivering for decades. So I think that's probably also a factor of just like, hey, you know, Microsoft is changing the way that they think about their business overall, and that's gonna seem weird and not always hit home. But I think when you look at that and go like, hey, and that was the one kind of consistent message there was like, these games will all be on Game Pass. And you're like, okay, all right, that's okay. These games won't require me to spend any additional money as someone who's already converted some, you know, insane amount of like $1 Game Pass or whatever, like upgrade for $1 thing, you know, like all those games will be out before I run out of the stocked up Game Pass time I got when that deal was going around. So cool. Like, that's awesome. And I don't think that they did a great job of getting you to understand what the Xbox Series X is and is going to be capable of and all that sort of stuff. But like, that's probably what they talk about in August when they get around to having another, assuming they have another event in August.
That's what I'm really looking forward to.
They were talking about monthly events, so I assume, you know, but like, that's probably when they get to price and when they get to, hey, we've got tiers of consoles you can buy, and here's what the other one does, and you know, like getting into that kind of aspect of it, I guess. But at the same time, like I don't necessarily know, because I feel like we came out of that last Microsoft event going like, well, the next one will be, that's where the one will, it'll make a lot more sense. And now we're coming out of this one going like, I feel like I understand this better, but the message is still murky in a couple of different ways. And yeah, it's weird, but it's gonna seem weird because if they're trying to do something different, then and if they're trying to do something different and not telling the whole story, I think that's the problem, is that you've got a month between messages. You've got like these disjointed things of just like, okay, these games are coming out. Right. Like, okay, it's part of Game Pass. All right, where can I play them? Do I need to get the new console? Or all these games coming to PC? Like, yes and no. Like that. They haven't quite put all of the pieces in place. And when they get there, I suspect you'll look at it and go like, okay,
yeah.
And then you'll be able to make a decision around like, well, I've already invested in a PC, so I'm going to do that. Or, hey, I don't even have an Xbox One, but I want to play these games, so I'll get one of the new Xbox Series and go that route. And it'll, like, I think that stuff will start to click into place for people, or they'll look at it and go like, I'll get a PlayStation 5, you know, like whatever, you know. And I think that stuff will just come into focus a little later in the year, but it's still just, it's weird. It's weird. It all feels weird.
Yeah.
It all feels weird.
Not only, you know, that we're just having a weird time, you know, with no E3 or whatever. We've got, you know, console manufacturer not really pushing their console so much as, you know, they are, you know, their service, you know,
right?
Which it's odd to us.
Of course, yeah. I mean, of course, it's odd. You know, you're used to, being hit over the head, which is like, this is the next generation of video games, motherfucker. We're to take here, god damn it, and that's a very easy, blunt message. to get across, and everyone's used to it. But like, yeah, things are weird now. Speaking of weird, a bunch of Nintendo stuff leaked out.
That's weird.
Yeah.
This is all it's there's a lot of the ins and outs of this stuff are strange. There's a lot of different debates around like what does this mean? How long until Nintendo sends lawyers to people that are posting stuff from this? But it's a big dump of information that includes just a huge wide variety of source code for games, some of the tools used to make Star Fox, prototype versions of ROMs, a case where like an unreleased video game that cleared submission for the NES, but for whatever reason never came out because the NES was just dropping off the map. Like earlier prototypes of the game had surfaced, but this is like one that like cleared QA and could have been shipped, but then was killed at that point. Hit the Ice, it's called. It's like a hockey. I've not played it. It's a hockey RPG. Is my understanding?
That sounds fun.
It sounds fucking crazy.
Pretty cool.
So as people are digging through this source code, they're finding everything from like, here's a PSD of the Super Mario 64 box art with all the layers in it. So you can turn off all the layers and just get Mario flying.
Whoa.
And or just get, like all this different stuff. Here's a bunch of Star Fox logos from the different prototypes, and as they were figuring out new logos, all the
My
audio
favorite thing was the super high res Link or Ocarina of Time stuff. The like just seeing those really chunky models in really beautiful high quality detail, like the shields and stuff was it was messed up.
Yeah,
I shouldn't be seeing this.
It's like a level of it's a fascinating look at a company that does not talk often enough about its process and its history.
Right.
They've done some things over the years, like they show like here's some graph paper we used to make Mario Brothers. Anyway, Bayonetta 3 is still not out. And so it's really fascinating. Also, Dylan Cuthbert, who worked on Star Fox 2 at the time, as people were coming to him and saying like, check out this thing I found, commented in your source code. He's like, oh, this is like, it's like people are reading my diary or something, it's like this weird, so that's got to be weird for some of the people who were there making those games at the time and all this other stuff. So let's break it down. Let's, they found in the source code for Mario 64, they found evidence of Luigi. They found a Luigi model. That's it's not in the final game. Like that's not necessarily stuff that made its way into the final version of the game, waiting to be unlocked or anything like that. It's more like at some point in the process, they were thinking, hey, you're going to have Luigi in this thing, whether as a playable character or like a variety of things that it could have been. There were always the rumors that just like, oh, if you fucking tilt the cartridge just right and you get all the stars and get 2,401 coins, Luigi's gonna pop out of the statue, whatever. And so finding weird evidence that like, in a weird way, like, at one point in development, they were considering putting Luigi in this thing, because of course they were. Interesting to find that stuff. Details like, hey, at one point internally they were calling they were referring to the game as Ultra 64 Mario Brothers. Because before it was the N64.
Your home.
Yeah.
In 19. Yep.
And that Yoshi's Island had there's a prototype version of that is billed as Super Mario Brothers 5.
Holy shit.
Because in Japan, Mario World was referred to as Super Mario Brothers 4 on the box art. And that this eventually was referred to as Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island. In some territories on I believe that's on the box art or somewhere, which is a travesty. You think about the progression of Super Mario Brothers games from Mario Brothers 1 to Mario Brothers 2. Let's consider the Japanese version because that's the true. To Super Mario Brothers 3, the first real sequel to Super Mario Brothers, to Super Mario World, one of the greatest games of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like, we're tapped out, man. What if you played as the fucking dinosaur? I don't know. Shit. Fuck. I got nothing. I have fucking nothing. What's the next Mario? What is Super Mario Brothers 5? fuck, I don't know. You throw eggs and you're fucking dinosaur. Fuck, I don't know. I'm Miyamoto. I'm out of ideas. I'm making Zelda games over here. Just fucking ask somebody else. Leave me alone, man. And then that's the thing they came up with as the 5th Super Mario Brothers game.
I've been playing Yoshi Island lately on my virtual console, just every now and then. I'm so pleasantly delighted going back to that game. It's so fun. It's got such a good weight to it. The way Yoshi jumps, it's just the physics. Good game.
Even if we live in a world where that game is considered to be a good game, which I'm not saying
most Americans do.
What is America? You know, think about it.
I don't.
That's not Super Mario Brothers 5.
I agree with that.
That's not my Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah, that's not even Super Mario World 2.
You're not playing as Mario.
Yeah.
It's not a Super Mario game.
Like, here's Mario. He's a baby. And at one point they were talking about, this was something that it was in an interview a while ago, that at one point they were talking about putting full adult Mario into that game. And so I guess like there are sprites or there's art somewhere in this dump that confirms that, they drew an adult Mario for this thing and he looks like a little cutie. And so it's this fascinating thing that like is now really puts a lot of blood in the water for when and if Nintendo decides to send lawyers out for this stuff. You've now got situations where you've got like, I'm going to make a ROM hack. Then people have already done this. I'm going to hack retail Super Mario 64 to put this Luigi model into it using we now know are the official assets. And you're like, okay, those were stolen.
Damn it.
That's a weird one. I think someone, if I don't know for sure, but like, I believe someone was prosecuted or caught for the hacks that led to a lot of this information getting out there. I don't know if that's fully confirmed or if that's just what people suspect, but there's been high profile Nintendo hacks in the past. Like there's a lot of stuff around Pokemon prototypes. There's, and even in here, you see like, hey, there's some crazy Yoshi designs before they settle on what Yoshi truly is. Which is like a piece of garbage. But like the beta versions of Yoshi are fascinating and frightening. And we'll see what happens.
Garbage. They're much worse.
They're like, they look like the weird Mario from Mario Maker.
Yep.
Compared to regular Mario. When you look at him, it's just like, this is like Yoshi through a nightmare lens. This is the fucking acid trip fucking microdose CEO version of Yoshi. It's weird but highly fascinating stuff. It's a highly fascinating chunk of information from a company that really doesn't like to have this sort of stuff out there, or really doesn't put this stuff out there themselves. And being able to have people dig through this stuff and go like, check out it. And that's the thing, is like, so much of it is so poorly sorted through and sifted through that like, and in weird old file formats that you need ridiculous. You're like, okay, tools, what do we need? Like, what Sony brand Linux machine do we need to actually run any of this stuff? And compile this stuff. And so people are sifting through it and finding ways to make it happen. And coming up with stuff like Super Donkey, which is a weird prototype where people say that the character in the Super Donkey prototype looks like Stanley, the Bugman from a little game called Donkey Kong 3.
Donkey Kong 3, yeah.
Yeah.
Never heard of it.
It's the third Donkey Kong game, sequel to...
The third Donkey Kong game is where you play as Tiny Kong and Dixie Kong, and you're in that cool hover boat, and you go to those crystal caves. You have to play Simon to save the little birds that are like bananas.
I'm going to cut my own head off. What? Super Donkey. Super Donkey. That's all. I think it's a fun name, but yes, Donkey Kong 3 is also a great game. I recently streamed some of that on the website. If you want to see Stanley the Bugman doing what he does best, which is shoot Donkey Kong in the dick.
Yeah.
That's there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that on this website.
Donkey dicks.
Yeah. That's what we do around here.
Any idea where
Deep Rock
these
Stream.
files came from? How they
So
acquired?
there have been a couple of situations where people have hacked their way into Nintendo servers and pulled a bunch of data down.
Crazy.
And so it seems like this came from that. Like these are like so in theory there is maybe a large trove of information out there, and people are carving off hunks of it and just dumping it online here and there.
Huh.
And so there may be more to come. This was stuff that, the previous time around, there were things about like the source code for some of the Wii's security stuff, like the Wii OS, which is called iOS, was a lot of those details were in some of the previous leaks and stuff like that. So just a lot of weird details, but this is all really weird, crazy old stuff.
Yeah.
That
you'd really have to sift around for. That's probably not clearly labeled.
I mean, I don't know. Like it's nice that Nintendo kept this stuff and didn't just burn it all, right? I mean, and you would expect that, old game companies are so bad at preserving their own shit. The idea that they have weird dev tools made to test text in Star Fox 2, just such a weird variety of things. It's just tremendous to be able to see this stuff. Obviously, someone had to break into Nintendo servers and steal it all, and that's no fucking good. So there's just a lot of really weird.
Somebody called up to the Nintendo tip line and social engineered all this stuff.
So I said, my uncle works there. Can you give me his email password?
Yep.
And it's Mario1.
Okay.
2, 3.
All right, great. All right, I'm gonna just type this into this and then download all these bootleg Pokemon.
It's real.
Yeah, weird. Mixer shut down.
R.I.P.
Oh, one more thing that was found in this. Apparently, at one point, Nintendo was trying to develop a version of DOS for the Super Nintendo. Like they found evidence of a floppy disk, like a floppy disk controller and a printer controller.
Whoa!
Like ways to potentially hook up that stuff to a SNES and use it as a computer. It's fucking crazy.
That would have been amazing.
It's fucking crazy.
Yeah. Oh shit.
So there's probably still more stuff to come out, even out of the stuff that's leaked now. As more people sift through it, we'll probably hear more about it.
Cool.
Mixer, the former Beam.Pro, is gone.
Where'd it go?
Shut it down.
Why?
They announced plans to shut it down a while ago.
They did,
yeah. And that time
roll it into Facebook, right? Well, not Mixer itself, but the tool or
they basically said like, hey, you should check out like it wasn't necessarily even tools or anything like that. It was like, you should check out Facebook. Like they posted a big thing on their front page on the page of Mixer that said like, head on over to Facebook. We're shutting this down. Go stream on Facebook.
Nope.
Some people did. Very few of them did. If you go to Facebook's gaming section right now, they had a section that was like Mixer Partner Spotlight, because like people who were Mixer partners got some kind of favored status over on Facebook and came in, and it was just like, here's people with like 28 people watching them, which is actually not. I mean, for Mixer, that's Mixer's whole problem, right? Is they just couldn't attract an audience. They tried to buy the biggest streamer in the world, and that didn't move the needle enough for them to keep it around. They're probably right to shut it down.
They had some of the best tech though, man.
Yeah.
Really good stuff.
It was cool. Mixer was cool. That's the problem, is Mixer was like a lot of fun. But also it's like that case of like, here's an MMO that comes along and does some new stuff. Yep. And then World of Warcraft does it 6 months later. And Twitch kind of just said like, oh man, their latency's good. We should make ours better. And they did. And we should incorporate more fun shit, and they did. Not quite. You can't do the beach ball thing on Twitch.
No.
Yet. But yeah, I liked Mixer a lot. I thought it was like a cool. It was a cool service. It did not find traction. They tried. Yeah. They did not get there. And yeah, they were probably right to just, at some point, just go like, yeah, we can't run this. We tried. We sunk a bunch of money into it. Did not happen.
And not long before they close up shop. Like they just gave Ninja his big contract, and then seems
I feel like the
things are
writing's
going
on
to
the wall at
annihilate
that point. Like if you do that deal and Ninja moves, immediately if that worked, right? Because you're
Right.
like
Sure.
first month or so, you're like, all right, how many of Ninja's people did we get?
12. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe we don't stick around. And, the ecosystem was what it was. I think there were people there that were passionate about streaming and they had their audiences and they were having fun, but it wasn't like a big time business. And it never felt like the Mixer Partners program was something that was doing great. I don't know. It was hard to get a sense of it, but like it's weird now because now they redirected everybody to Facebook. So I think it's yesterday, a couple days ago, I was looking at the Facebook stuff. Like, who streams video games on fucking Facebook? And it's all mobile.
I figured, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That makes
It's all
sense.
like, what the fuck is the name of the game? I'm gonna have to go look now. It is one specific game had like Mobile Legends, I think it's called.
That's a fake game name.
Yeah. Browse games. And so they serve a different, like they default to something called the suggested view when you look at the browse games. But if you sort high to low and see like who's actually watching stuff on Facebook right now, the top, well, okay, this is better than it was the other night, but still okay. So PUBG Mobile is the number one game on Facebook gaming right now, followed by Free Fire Battlegrounds. I don't know what that is. Then Grand Theft Auto 5, then Minecraft, then Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Which is those are and then Mobile Legends and then Fortnite. So when I looked the other day, it was like Mobile Legends, PUBG, Free Fire, and like another mobile game or something where all the traffic was, and then just a gigantic drop off after that.
Their featured stream right now is it's a Call of Duty stream with 11,000 viewers. But like, here's my question.
And that's a guy, I believe he signed an exclusive deal to stream on Facebook.
Sure. So he brought some people over, presumably.
Yeah.
Wasn't Facebook the company that got in huge trouble for artificially inflating all their video numbers and collapsing sort of the news economy like 2 years ago?
Well, define Facebook. Huge trouble.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you mean no trouble?
They got scolded.
Yeah. Do you mean someone went like, "Hey," and then they went like?
So how is anyone accepting any of this at face value? I guess is my question.
I suppose that's a valid valid statement. Yeah. So it's but also like I kept checking with Mixer and streamed to Mixer a couple more times during the downfall. I was live on Mixer when they shut off Mixer.
Nice.
They turned the lights off on you?
Yeah, they did. Like at one point, OBS just threw an error, and it was just like, "Nah, you're done." And then chat stayed up for another 10 or 20 minutes or so, and the stream froze, and everyone spent all their sparks on dumb GIFs. And then at one point, the chat server just disconnected, and it said trying to reconnect the chat, and then it never did.
And it
wow.
never will.
And they had since redirected all like the page. Basically, if you weren't on the page already, it would have. If you weren't already on the page, you would not be able to load it up fresh. Like they at some point shut off access to it, but there were still a handful of people there, and we chatted for a bit, and they shut it off all the way, and that was that. But in the weeks leading up to it, you would look at the promo units on the Mixer homepage, and they had like, here's all our partners, which those are the people that you would think would be like, I think Facebook was offering partners, like Mixer partners, like $2,000 or something to go there.
Whoa.
But like in that partner strip, and they would grant them partner status on Facebook, whatever that means. But like the strip of all those partners, almost all of them said, "Here's my Twitch URL. Follow me over there." And so, everyone just went to Twitch. There were live streams. Like the top slot on Mixer on the last day was a stream that was just a static image of like a guy's logo and saying like, "Check me out on Twitch. Here's when I'll be live on Twitch."
Damn.
And I'm over here on Twitch. Like not even like mirroring the stream or anything like that. Just boom, static image. come over here and check me out on Twitch. So I don't know quite what the expectation was on the Mixer to Facebook migration as a business. Like what were they thinking they would get? But it doesn't seem like too many people took the money on that. And it makes sense. Like, if the primary streamers on Facebook, and obviously Facebook wants to change that, but if most of the people streaming on Facebook right now are streaming mobile games, and a lot of those, like, and not necessarily that those are not necessarily English language streams either. So like there's just other parts of the world where that's like a popular thing, and that's cool, whatever. But it just seems like, people just are like, no, it's like, if I'm going to try to do this as a business, I'm going to go to Twitch, because that's where streaming business seems to be happening. So, still, I was like melancholy about it. I don't know. Beam.pro was cool.
Yeah, it totally was.
And it's just good to have
see it go.
Competition.
Yeah. And now what is there? There's
Facebook gaming, man.
Gaming.
Okay, there's that. You can live stream on
GiantBomb.com/chat.
That's right. GiantBomb.com/chat.
Everybody can stream there.
Yeah. We should do that, man.
We should.
I think there is a white label Twitch that you could actually technically build your own fake streaming site on their tech. Anyway, there's Caffeine.
Oh yeah.
.tv, which is weird and requires, or I don't know if it requires you, but they want you to download a fork of OBS because they try to provide two video feeds, one of a cam and one of the gameplay, and you can kind of move them around on your phone or wherever. Like it's two separate video feeds, kind of, which is a neat idea that, it doesn't seem like it gained any real traction. They launched that thing a while ago. Drake has a page there. I don't think he's ever streamed though. There's one that is porno.
There's only one?
I've only seen one.
Only?
I've only seen that, but no, it's like it's naked people playing video. It's like, okay, can we take the cam site like stuff and integrate gaming into it? And so in some cases it's people playing actual hentai, but in some cases it's just people playing whatever while they themselves are naked and doing stuff. It's a bizarre thing, but that's out there.
Something for everybody.
Yeah. I saw a mod. So I was clicking through that the other night, and I saw someone playing Sims 4, but this was not the Sims. These Sims were doing things to each other that I don't think you can do unless there's a new add-on, unless there's a new expansion for Sims 4 that EA put out.
They've got vampires and stuff.
The
Who knows?
gangbang, like some kind of, I don't like, unless there's something I'm not aware of. It was probably a user-created mod for The Sims 4, and I went and read a bunch of patch notes for that, and it was stuff like, yeah, there's a new mod, there's a new setting you can set that will set the pregnancy rates incredibly low, and it was just like this, like reading through it and go like, I need to close this browser and set this computer on fire. Like, it was just, I learned a lot that day.
About pregnancy rates and
of
video
Sims,
games.
Of Sims. Yeah. Cuphead's out on the PS4 today.
Congratulations.
Is there
I kind of leaked a little bit.
any mods for that?
Yeah.
You won't believe what you can do with Mugman.
You can stack
I'm just saying, like, what if you wanted to replace the cup with something else? Hey, you know what? Where's all the Death Stranding stuff?
What?
I was promised by my own brain that people would be hacking models out of Death Stranding on the PC and using those models to do terrible.
Maybe they forgot it came out.
Maybe they forgot.
Have you checked that streaming site yet?
I'll look.
Okay.
I'll look and see. I don't know. And our last story. D4 is coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like so as I've I feel like I've been hanging out in some discords with some people that are like in their 20s still, and there's a fondness for G4 that I can't say I expected.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It was the only representation of video games on TV. It was like that and news stories about how they're going to cause school shootings.
Yeah. I think it was just, like from my perspective, we were already putting so much stuff on the internet and covering games on the internet and all that
I didn't
stuff.
have a computer, Jeff. I didn't know what the fuck a computer even was, but I did have a TV and a friend who had a good enough cable package that they had G4.
So you saw a lot of episodes of Cops. Congratulations.
Yeah, I did.
All that Fast Lane.
That's right.
All those episodes
Campus
of Cheaters.
PD.
God, they had the show that was like all the MMOs are in one universe, and like there's like a through line, and like there's a bigger story with all the MMOs, and like one
Red
MMO
versus
is like
Blue?
Jesus. No, it wasn't Red versus Blue. I don't know. Like and like the
people
guy
in chat are saying it was called Portal.
Portal?
Yeah, Portal. Man, that was my shit. It made me
Really?
want to play EverQuest, and I never played EverQuest. But maybe I'll play EverQuest. I don't know.
Maybe.
It was that same sort of feeling of like your mom takes you to the supermarket and you walk to the magazine aisle and just start flipping through a gaming magazine. It was that, but like on TV. It was great.
Yeah. I think for me, it was, like obviously there's a lot of weird, like I did some stuff on G4 that I thought was super fun. It was hella cool to go, because they treated it like television, and they had like, whereas we were like very ragtag, making videos on the internet. It was weird to see like, man, y'all are spending a lot of money to make this half-hour TV show that it was fucking crazy. Like, I would watch it and just going there. It looked like someone throwing money onto a fire to me.
That's what the TV business is.
Totally right. Yeah. It was this weird thing. I was just like, man, this looks like a lot of fun. And I would only have to focus on like one specific thing instead of like 7. And so I was like low key jealous of the people that were on some of those shows by that point. And so, but it was, because obviously like G4 was Tech TV before that, and it was ZD TV before that. So like X Play was extended play before that, and it was GameSpot TV before that. So like when that show launched, it was people taking reviews that I had written and repackaging them into TV scripts, and then Adam Sessler reading them and stuff like that. It was like a cool thing, and we were on some early episodes of that show. When it was because it was GameSpot TV and we were GameSpot, it was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And then a bunch of companies got sold and split off and carved off, and they had to change their name, and it was no longer affiliated with GameSpot. And at that point, they hired, I think, a lot of reviewers because they were like, oh, if we can't use GameSpot stuff anymore, we need an editorial team. And they started doing that. And yeah, so it was cool, but like it was all just weird. So like G4 was always this weird thing where it was like, I always looked at it as, this is on television and they can't, and the complaint I would hear out of people there sometimes is like, yeah, they won't let us cover M-rated games the way we want to cover M-rated games because it's television. And as we were getting deeper and deeper into more and more M-rated games, it was this weird thing of just like, man, that just feels so out of step with where video games are going. And every conversation with anyone over there would eventually devolve into like, boy, the people on the Comcast side of this sure fucking suck and sure have no fucking idea what video games are or cares. And that struggle of like fighting against the corporate owner that doesn't know a damn thing about video games but thinks they know everything about running television was just fucking, it sounded like a nightmare. And so when they posted something like G4's coming back, it was like a teaser with no details. But then Variety has the details. It is still Comcast. This is coming out of like, Comcast has an esports division now, because of course they do, because who doesn't? when it comes to mainstream companies with too much money to burn. Of course, they have an esports division. And now they are looking to get G4 back in some form. I can't imagine this is a television network. I can't imagine they're putting this on television.
Though I feel like it's easier than ever with like smart TVs, you know, and shit. Like I can go download a trillion different channels I've never heard of.
I guess I mean specifically, I mean cable.
Oh yeah, no way.
I just I don't see this like showing up on the dial. You know, it's the dial.
What I'm thinking is do you think it launches kind of like an app, like an HBO Max, right? And then it has all the library of previous G4
that could be something
programming. You know, it's like here's like X-Play from this period of time up until it ended.
I could see
G4 Infinite.
Sure.
I could see there being an aspect of it to that. Like so that's what like I've been sitting here trying to think like, well, okay, if I were in charge of bringing back G4, what would it be? And I think you would do that. I think you would say, here is all of the archive content. Here's all these episodes of Cinematheque.
Here's a shit ton of esports. I feel like it's gonna be all esports. I really feel like it's gonna be like, where's the money in video games?
Or not even, it's not even where's the money, it's where does a company like Comcast think the money is.
Well, they own several esports teams too.
Right,
so
exactly. I think that's I could very much see it being part of that play. They've got a couple of people attached to this in the variety story here. Blair Herter, who has plenty of G4 time in at proper G4, is there, and also Brian Terwilliger, who also was a producer on Attack of the Show, and you may know him as the guy what hired Dan Reichert to go be in wrestling. He is now no longer at the wrestling. He is now over at the new G4. So, I'm very curious to see what they do, and where they go with it. But I will say, with that specific bit of information out there, the idea of Xavier Woods out there campaigning to get on G4, it's just like
he has a guy on the inside,
like dudes in your contacts. So we'll see. See if he we'll see if he makes his way onto the new G4 someday. I bet he does. I bet he finds a way on.
It's just going to be the WWE app and like the WWE network with G4. That's all it's going to be, isn't it? They're going to push like a live stream, program live stream out like every day. They're like, hey, here's our daily recap, and then here's everything else. Oh my God, it's going to be like that.
Yeah. Them wrestlers, they're always working.
Yeah. What if they're going to start their own wrestling federation? G4 Wrestling? Oh, man.
If they start, if they're looking to get into video game wrestling, I'm calling the cops. Anyway, that's news. I think it's cool that they're going to bring G4 back. The two names there, those seem like names that you would want to get involved with this, that have some legacy on what G4 was,
right?
And understand what people liked about it. I think that's a good start. Everyone was looking at all the former hosts and all this other stuff, and I wonder if they go and pull any of those people and say like, hey, do you want to get back on the air or on the air or whatever it ends up being? And I wonder. I don't know.
Yeah, what's Martin Sargent up to?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I saw one more. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
There's a lot of people that from the long years of G4 and Tech TV and all that stuff that they could potentially look at.
Totally.
And I'll be curious to see what they do. I mean, I guess like the thing I would say is like, hopefully they don't lean too hard on like what G4 was, because I think that a lot of that stuff, especially if it's not a cable network, I think you need to have a very different approach to it nowadays. and yeah, we'll see what they do. I'm very curious to see what they end up doing. That's it for news.
Wait, one more breaking news story.
Oh God.
Apparently, nuclear disarmament has been fully realized in Metal Gear Solid 5, and America finally gets to see that cutscene for the first time. Congratulations, y'all! We did it. We got rid of all the nukes.
Great. I remember seeing that cutscene when they hacked it out of the game.
No, Kojima said you can only see it once there's peace.
Great. So is this new for? Is it new for America? Because I feel like didn't this happen in some other territories at some point, like legit wise, or did it have to happen around the world?
The first legit omit.
Okay. Congratulations to. Oh, people are saying
PS3.
It's per platform, so it's only on the PS3.
On the PS3.
All right. Congratulations to PlayStation owners. People used to worry that people were going to use PlayStation 3s to launch nukes, and now we're putting a stop to them.
We'll be right back.
We'll be right back. We're back, and it is now time for B-mails? Giant Bombcast.
Music playing? I don't know.
The music's playing. I'll figure out the potato.
Bombcast at giantbomb.com is
playing again.
The address for just loop it the whole time. It's like New Jack. Bombcast at giantbomb.com is your place to send emails, which may get converted into B-mails through some kind of process, but maybe not. This week they did.
Just
remux your emails.
Yeah.
Remux.
Matroska.
Put them in that container, baby.
That's right. Put them, slam them in the bammer. Ben, hit me with these B-mails. What do you got?
All right. First up, we have a B-mail from a concerned Norwegian who says,
those are the best kind.
What is up with wall-to-wall carpets in the U.S.? Is it really the norm? It is very much not here.
Interesting. Well, what kind of floors do they have up there in Norway?
Dirt and rock,
I guess.
Cobblestone.
I would prefer more carpeting then at that point.
Have you guys ever lived in a house with wall-to-wall carpeting?
Most,
I have.
Most houses. Yeah. This one was wall-to-wall carpeting until relatively recently when we ripped it all out.
Does that include kitchen and bathroom?
No, God, no.
What?
Come on.
I have.
Oh, that's terrible.
No.
Is it at least like a different piece of carpet?
No, what? It was the whole thing, and it was the college house that I lived in, so it was just a bunch of dudes.
Oh no. Yeah, they don't take care of the black mold in those places.
I still can smell the smell of that bathroom. To this day, I can just close my eyes and just picture it.
That's crazy.
Carpet in a bathroom is like, that's insane.
I honestly couldn't tell which was worse between the bathroom and the kitchen. I feel like bathroom has higher risk. Like
that's just mold. You're stepping on mold.
Yes, the mold is bad, but in the kitchen, like spills happen a lot more in the kitchen than they happen in the bathroom. I would venture to. I mean, I can't speak for everyone. But like, you're making something and a little bit gets on the ground. It's easy to wipe it up, but not in the kitchen.
Yeah.
That ground is basically a chili with everything that went into it.
Oh, I feel like the situation in a bathroom is like, okay, in the kitchen, you're likely to get a more concentrated and larger spill, whereas the bathroom, I think, beats it because it's over time, it's always getting just a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there. And so it is always getting fucked up. And so I think the bathroom is probably long-term worse.
We would eventually start putting towels on the ground in the bathroom on top of the carpet. And that just brought a whole new layer of funk to the equation because then we just wouldn't wash the towels.
Yeah.
I made it out. I made it out. It's gone. It's behind me.
I'm glad.
It explains a lot. Yeah, I mean, we ripped all the carpets out of this place not that long ago, like before the baby was born. I was like, we can't we can't let this baby on these carpets. These carpets have been here since the 70s. But the kitchen was never carpet. The bathrooms were never carpet. That's too crazy. So
I can't think of a place that I've lived that have had carpeted kitchens or bathrooms for that matter. But definitely everything else in the place: bedrooms, living room, dining room, whatever.
How do y'all feel about a popcorn ceiling?
I got one right now. I don't feel great about it, but I'll tell you, it helps. It knocks down the echo.
Oh,
like acoustically, it's actually that's maybe like the one thing about a popcorn ceiling I'll say is that like the acoustics are a little more damp and not as bouncy. Whereas if I were to scrape this ceiling, which maybe someday I'll do, I feel like the sound quality in this room would be worse for recording or whatever else.
You might be right. Yeah.
Huh. All right. We got a next email. It's a pretty straightforward question, but I thought it was a good one. Dear Bombcast, it has been over 20 years since I played either A Link to the Past or Super Metroid, but I cannot recall any real differences in the core mechanic of acquiring upgrades and returning to old areas to use set upgrades for progression. Should we consider traditional Zelda games to be Metroidvanias, or alternatively, should we consider Metroidvanias to be Zelda-likes? Thank you for the entertainment, Paul. And sure enough, I looked it up, and like if we want to go with Super Metroid and Link to the Past as the two examples here, Link to the Past came out 3 years before Super Metroid. So why are they Metroidvania?
Here's the thing, though. Like you take a look at a Metroidvania, and Zelda's not anywhere in the title. So how could it be?
Right.
How could it be?
It was so simple.
Wow. Yeah, it was there staring at you the entire time.
But I feel if you think about the progression in The Legend of Zelda, and I think A Link to the Past did this, but like original Legend of Zelda certainly did. Like the dungeons were numbered, and so you would go into the first dungeon, and you would get an item that you would often use. It was a pretty set order that you would be playing these games through. Whereas I feel like Metroid, the promise of Metroid was that they basically like throw you in, and there are you more frequently see things in Metroid games where you go like, what's that? I don't know. I'll have to come back for it. Whereas Zelda is not about like, hey, I'm going to come back for it. I'm going to take I found the whistle in level 7 or whatever. I'm gonna take it back to the second dungeon and get this. Like it's not that kind of game. And I feel
there's a couple instances in which you go directly in. It's like, oh, I need the hook shot to actually get across here. Like I can't go into this dungeon until I've gotten that. There's a couple instances.
But I feel like generally the progression is going to point you in the direction of the next dungeon. And like if you were wandering around, even in the first Zelda, you could definitely find your way into just like, oh, how did I get here?
Yeah.
But like it's not really a backtracking. Legend of Zelda is not a backtracking focused game. There are some things here and there where it's like, oh, now that I have this, like in the first game, now that I have this ladder, I can go all the way out to the east side and I can walk out these planks and get this heart container. Like there are things like that, but it's not necessarily backtracking, where I feel like the thing about Metroid, a lot of it is like coming back to an area where you were before and having like, okay, here's more. Now I can finally get through this to get here.
And the flip side of that, a lot more foreshadowing of like, this is a jump you clearly cannot make. Like we are showing it you now, and you'll eventually learn to come back here.
Yeah. Yes.
Great. That answers that. And so let's answer this. Cameron in Dallas, Texas writes in and says, with the extra time at home during quarantine, I've been diving back into Final Fantasy XIV. The story, combat, and job systems are keeping me heavily invested, and I don't even mind most side quests result in the standard talk to this person or kill 3 of this thing. My friends who are deep into WoW said that they hate the questing experience in Final Fantasy XIV, describing it as tedious and boring. I have just assumed every MMO was similar to that, but maybe that just is not the case. My question to you is, what makes a MMO quest good? Does such a thing exist? And do you have any examples of good quests? Thank you.
Oh shit.
Also, this PS, which I usually skip these, but I have to share. PS, my wife mixes peanut butter and jelly together in a bowl before putting it on her sandwich, which basically just turns it into a brown sludge.
Ooh, that's weird.
That's disturbing to me.
I wish. That's something you gotta share before you get married.
Yeah.
Can
That's
you
a
imagine
deal
coming
breaker.
home from the honeymoon? It's just like, oh, I'm hungry. Can you make me something, sweetie? And just like, oh yeah, sure. I'll make you a PB&J, and you get that.
Oh, good. Yeah. Weird.
Sludge on toast sounds all right though. The Van Cleef quest in World of Warcraft was good. I think when I'm looking for good quests in MMOs or really damn near anything, it's I want custom content as part of that quest. And if your quest is go here to this place that you maybe have been 3 or 4 times before and now kill these guys instead of the time when you went before and right clicked on these trees, like that's bad. But when you go like, oh, here's a whole new area, here's a whole new thing, and you're like, look at this fucking pirate ship, like all the like custom cool shit that you see as a part of that quest. And usually they save that for the end of a quest line, and
Right.
all the quests leading up to it are, very generic. And yeah, so I think that's the stuff I'm looking for, which actually that probably means the real answer is just like, hey, maybe don't play MMOs. Because a lot of that stuff is, that's par for the course in a lot of those types of games, is that to get to the cool shit, you have to do a lot of repetitive shit.
Yeah.
I haven't actually played it myself, but that near raid or quest in FF14 looks pretty dang awesome. And I guess maybe this is different from what the email is asking, but just seeing like a huge swarm of people doing a raid together seems pretty neat. Something I kind of want to get into.
Yeah.
But like as far as like fetch quests and stuff, like I don't know, like I played through the early bits of like FF14. I think I got up to like level 20 something. And I don't know, it kind of like feeds into like the mindless like mentality of just like, okay, I can do another one of these before I gotta go. Like, okay, one more. I gotta find this chicken. Okay.
I gotta find this chicken.
Yeah.
I haven't played an MMO for a while, but I used to play like City of Heroes and like WoW a little bit. And I'm trying to think of like what kind of quests I enjoyed, but they were just so overrun with, Jeff mentioned the Van Cleef stuff. That was a good like overarching like storyline. That was pretty good. I don't know, maybe like Monster Hunter where they've got like, crossover events. Like they've got a Final Fantasy crossover kind of thing. That was always fun. And
Do you get to
they've got,
fight a
like,
giant
Witcher one.
chocobo?
No, you get to fight a giant behemoth. And they actually got to fight a huge Rathalos, I think, in Final Fantasy 14. Also, you get to play as like the Witcher and shit like that. Those were neat.
Thinking about dipping
Those are
back
fun
into
one-off
both
stuff.
of those.
Monster
Hunter and Final Fantasy 14 with that new update that's coming out. Where it's like, I think the free trial is like up to level 60, which is wild.
Yeah, I think hearing that they were looking to maybe rebuild some of the early stuff in Final Fantasy, or like tighten up some of the. Everyone says like, oh, you should skip all this stuff and just buy the level skip because here's where the story gets good. And I always look back like, but what if that stuff? I kind of want to see that stuff. And then the end result is I just never play the game because I'm always trapped in between those two decision. So. Yeah, but if they went and revamped all that stuff and freshened it up, that'd be a great time to get in. So I don't know, maybe I would.
All right. From massively multiplayer games to single player games. On last week's Bombcast, you briefly touched on the phenomenon of the terrible Dave & Buster's machines of iPhone games such as Flappy Bird and Temple Run. This reminded me of a moment from my past. On my birthday in 2016, I found myself at a Dave & Buster's. After spending some money on other games, I sauntered over to a massive Crossy Road game. I'd been an avid Crossy Roader for some time, so I thought I'd give it a shot. The Crossy Road arcade port is somehow a reduced version of the original with only one button and no directional control. Nonetheless, I started hitting my stride and found that sublime Crossy Road zone. Soon I had a DDR-style crowd around me watching as I survived wave after wave of roads and rivers. When I finally died, I had set the high score and won an absurd amount of tickets, which I used to purchase as many Dave and Buster branded shot classes as I could.
Yeah.
My question, I contend that this is one of my greatest ever athletic feats, while my friends counter that it is not. What do you think, Stephen from Maryland?
Oh, 100%.
Absolutely.
It's
Those
a test of
buttons are big.
endurance.
Yeah, and those buttons are big, and it's those things are probably kid size, so you're probably hunched over it. So there's a athlete. He's an athlete.
Yeah.
He's an athlete. Yeah.
Yeah, you also got to
Yeah.
contend with like jerks, like kind of siding up next to the arcade machine, like sizing you up, thinking like, "Oh, I could cross this road better than you." And sometimes that's like a 5-year-old.
Yeah. That's esports also.
Yeah.
It's definitely esports.
That might be the biggest esports pot of the year. All those tickets, all those shot classes.
Man.
Yeah.
Man, like I never draw a crowd at skee ball. Like that's an athletic event as well.
Have you considered your approach to it? Like maybe throw in a little more like showmanship. You could do
a little
some
more
behind the
flair, I
back.
think. Yeah,
Maybe
like
kiss the ball before you do it.
Do a little spin, before and
Not right
do
now.
the
Do not
twinkle
kiss the ball.
toe like Bugs Bunny thing before I release the ball. Yeah, okay.
Only if you make the sound effect.
Do you think it's frowned upon to bring your own balls to skee ball?
No, they're fine with it.
Okay.
Bring a ball with a string on it, so that way you could throw in the 100 and then just fish it back out.
If bowling is a sport, skee ball is a sport.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
And I would like to see some bowling lanes converted to add skee ball like jumps and rings that I can use bowling balls with.
Jason, you just have to become the Pete Weber of skee ball.
Yeah.
Okay. I will work on that.
Yeah. Do you think any of the skills in bowling translate over? Do you think a bowler would be better or automatically worse because they've got some idea in their mind, like some hang up?
I think they could make the adjustment. I think they're good at precision rolling, right? That's the whole thing. So like all good bowlers bowl with a curve, and that's not going to work for skee ball unless it does. Like
right,
what the meta just hasn't evolved.
Yeah. That man, the skee ball meta. Could that be new skee ball tech? We can't even get out to try.
I know.
It's tragic.
I know.
How much does a skee ball? How much could a skee ball cost?
I've been in contact with San Francisco's number one
$1,000.
skee ball provider, so maybe we can talk after this.
Why don't we have one of those at the office?
Is that drug code?
He's also probably a drug dealer.
Great. Okay. All right. I guess that makes sense. Hit me with another of your messages.
I hope this makes sense because it did to me. Jay from Memphis writes in, "Hey Bombcast, while playing Ghost of Tsushima, take two. While playing Ghosts, is it Ghost or Ghost?
It's Ghost.
Singular
There's
ghost.
just one ghost.
One ghost. You are the Ghost of Tsushima.
Tsushima. While playing Ghost of Tsushima, I couldn't help but chuckle when I saw that it was yet another game that had tall grass to hide in while remaining perfectly visible to the had tall grass to hide in while still remaining perfectly visible to the player. I feel like this trend has been in a startling amount of games this generation. Why is this feature so pervasive?
Because it's real.
Mm-hmm.
You can hide in tall grass.
Yep. That's
and
stealth.
your camera, the player's camera is often above and behind the player. So you don't know what you don't really have a good sense of what guard number 7 over there is even really seeing, because you're seeing it from your perspective. And that dude's invisible. Just like in real life.
Yep.
There's tall grass everywhere. You can
Yeah.
hide in it. It's just real. Easy to understand because it's reality based.
Yeah, when I go prone in tall grass, I'm not sure I'm even there anymore.
Exactly.
Hi, got another email from
Okay.
Bobby B. Bobby B writes in.
Bobby
and says,
Bonilla writes in with,
Howdy Bombcast. Hope everyone is safe and well. How do you guys feel about the video game trope of intentionally unwinnable fights? Like a fight where the enemy is so strong / you are too weak and they take no damage. A fight that no matter how well you're doing, a cutscene kicks in and the player is suddenly on the losing end, or another variation of the trope. Playing a modern game does this exact same thing. I'm tired of this game. I'm tired of games using this tactic to establish their villain as a real threat to the player, and I often find myself just sitting there and letting the enemy take me out so I can get it over with.
Bobby
exactly
Bottle
what I do.
Service is exactly right. Yeah,
It's never been good. It's almost I
hated
can't think
it.
of any good ones.
And I think the worst thing that happens is when you waste a bunch of time in that fight, and because you're like, oh, well, I guess like you're just like slightly better than they anticipated a player would be, or whatever it is, or where you're just like, I'm kind of holding my own here. And Ghost of Tsushima did this, where it's like, oh, I'm parrying all these shots, I'm not getting hit all that much, and boy, this fight sure seems to be going forever. This is really dumb. I guess maybe I'll probably beat him up enough, and then he'll run away, and then that'll set the game in motion. As I'm like wailing away, going like, all right, I'm kind of getting in there, doing my stuff, and then you're like, oh, okay, and someone pointed out like, oh, what it even sucks even more if you're like wasting healing items during these fights. Yeah, I think that's a really frustrating way to go.
I remember the first time I ever won one of those fights I was supposed to lose was in Tales of Symphonia. You have one of the boss fights against Kratos. I can't remember what his name is. The antagonist at the beginning of the game, and I was just devastated because it took me like 45 minutes because I was like playing it super carefully. I was like, wow, this fight is tough, but I feel like I'm like at a good level here. I got him down to like a sliver or whatever, and then all of a sudden the cutscene is like I was getting my ass kicked, and there was just such a huge disconnect there.
Oh,
that's even worse when they don't account for like, hey, maybe you actually pulled it off somehow, or don't find a way to like force their specific. It's like they're forcing their solution on the player, and I think that that sort of sucks. And like sometimes they're doing that for tone, or they want to try to establish their bad guy as very bad. But I don't know. I don't think they. I feel like most of the time those things don't work out as well as they could.
Ben, you brought up bosses that you're not supposed to beat. I think it's really fun when you fight bosses like that and you do beat them, and they do actually reward you for it.
Yeah.
Was it? I forgot which Dark Souls it was, that the pit demon or something like that.
So. That's Dark Souls 1.
Yeah. Like in the very beginning of the game.
Sekiro has that. You can technically win that first fight, but then it at least gives you a different cutscene of like something else happens that makes you lose.
Yeah, that's when it's kind of fun, but for the most part, please kill me. I can't stand those.
Yeah. But I think it's very cool when they have a situation where it's like, here's this fight that is like damn near unwinnable, but if you do, here's some cool shit. I think that's really neat. How are you doing on emails? You got any more?
Of course, Jeff. I've got a trillion of them.
Oh.
But I'm
indubitable. I don't even know what I was saying anymore. Go hit me.
Here it is. Question for the scientists. By the way, this email was sent virus-free thanks to AVG. So don't worry.
I had a false positive on my machine the other day, and I was fucking scared as shit. Like I launched an app, and it just immediately closed, and Windows was like, dude. I was like, oh, fuck.
And that app was that Sims mod you were talking about from before?
No.
Dale writes in and says, I've always enjoyed fighters and played them casually for most of my life. I was inspired by Ben's strain for Evo to try and play more games competitively in ranked modes. This also broadened my hobby of modding and testing out different fight sticks.
Cool.
One thing I was surprised to learn from the community was how in-depth a stick can get for specific games. For example, I learned that using a Korean style lever over a Japanese style lever is a very beneficial move to the movement in Tekken.
Tekken, yeah.
This had me curious. What fighters do you mainly play, and do you have a preferred stick or pad? Do you have any custom sticks or plans on builds anytime soon?
I have a ton of custom sticks. I actually just got some foam padding on the bottom of my junk food arcade stick.
Wow, that was just right there.
It was just right there. You can see like the logo on there. It says junk food. That's one of my favorites right now. But I've got a couple other customs as well. There's a bunch of retail sticks. But
do you have any games that you prefer pad on?
Yeah. So like a Mortal Kombat, I prefer, Injustice, like the NRS games.
Sure.
I think for the most part, because they're very directional with the D-pad for one, and then a lot of things are you've got to hit like both triggers or something. But then also sometimes 4-button games. Like I can play Guilty Gear a little bit with like a 4-button pad style layout.
I definitely like the pad for those kinds of games, but I definitely prefer the stick for those kinds of games too.
Yeah.
For like air dashes.
Yeah, it's a lot easier with a stick for sure.
I definitely had a moment where, like, when I decided I wanted to get serious about Street Fighter, I bought a stick and everything, and I was playing on it. I played on it for several years, and it was just like, cool, great, yeah, this is great. And then I went off to college and didn't take the stick with me, and was like, picked up the pad and started playing it, and I'm like, wait a second, it's way easier to do a 360 on this pad than it is to do it with a fight stick. Like,
oh really? Wow.
Yeah, and so I just like switched preference halfway through.
Yeah, I think I at this point play most fighting games with a pad, but I'm not like super serious about any of them. I think like Street Fighter, I would play with a stick if I was going to take it more seriously. And a lot of the SNK stuff, I would probably use a stick for that. But a lot of them, I don't know, like, even, like Mark of the Wolves, you can play. I was playing Mark of the Wolves with Vinny last night on a pad and doing mostly fine.
Nice.
Like generally okay. Yeah, it's, I don't know. I think there's definitely a moment where I'm like, okay, I'm going to get back into a thing and try to take it a little more seriously, where I'm going to go like, okay, now I'm going to pull this stick out and use it, but not with Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat's a pad game. Like, it's designed that way.
Yeah.
It just feels like very much that, and Injustice. Like, Injustice has like maybe they both do at this point, but I know Injustice always had the like alternate inputs where you can change the down forwards to quarter circles.
Yeah, it does.
And stuff like that. And I just never felt like something that was necessary. I don't know. Like a stick for Injustice, a stick for modern MK, like even classic MK on current controllers with shoulder buttons and stuff like that. Like, having a block button on a shoulder button, and you got your 4 attack buttons. Like, it just feels right. I'm interested in hearing about these Korean sticks, though.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what is it about the Korean sticks that makes them different?
I don't know if it's like a shorter throw or something. I don't know. I haven't really.
Doesn't it have to do with the circle? The circle gate versus like.
I'm not sure.
I could be wrong, but I believe that it's most sticks are 8 gates. Like, they have basically an octagon.
Most are 4 actually.
Or yes, most are 4.
Gates.
Some are 8. But then I think they're just pure circle, which maybe makes the like. I don't know. I'm out of my league there, but
so it's just a little just easier to just kind of flip it and tap it around and stuff like that, because there's basically no gate. Is that what you're saying? Anyway,
yes,
I don't know.
Yeah, but then there's even different subsets where it's a hitbox, and you've actually got 4 buttons to represent the 4 different directions. So you're playing like this, like, your hands very, very close together, and you're just hitting, like buttons instead of like using a stick. There's also ones that use like actual keyboard, like caps, like WASD. on the left side instead of sticks. There's a
I
lot
think
of
that hitboxes are weird, man. I see them, and it's like every time I see one, I go like, "That looks cool. I would like to try one of those, but not. I would not want to pay for one because I feel like I would try one for a couple hours and go like, oh, it's funny. It makes it a little bit more like like you're playing a PC game on a keyboard,
right?
That kind of WASD style. But like I used to try to play SF2 IBM, which is a fan-made bootleg Street Fighter 2 that came out in the early 90s. And, it didn't have Gravis gamepad support. So you had to, and it ran like shit, but you had to try to basically approximate a Dragon Punch on a keyboard. And it was just ridiculous. And eventually I got okay at it. But that's the first thing I think of when I think about like playing a fighting game on a hitbox is always this just like weird, like the math, the mental, like how you move that to do the moves you do in a fighting game. It's broken up here for me. It just doesn't compute. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I would have to do so much mental rewiring in order to do that. But then again, it's like it could be so precise, right? Like you could never jump accidentally. You'd know when you're always blocking, low. Man, I've thought about it a lot, but I don't think I could do the gymnastics.
And are those tournament legal? I know that at some point different games were weird about hitboxes because they would allow illegal movement like up and down at the same time, and some games don't handle that gracefully and let you do weird shit.
Yeah, most converters or rather the PCBs have some sort of like command like cleaner essentially.
Okay.
So you're not able to press two directions at the same time and like block two different ways.
So if I'm showing up at a tournament with a hitbox, do they need to bust it open and look at it like a demolition derby? They need to make sure I'm not pouring cement in my doors.
If somebody challenges you, for sure. Yeah.
Oh, cool. That usually wouldn't happen right away. It'd be like if you somehow like beat a few players and you're some unknown guy, and it's just like, okay, maybe or somebody notices something while watching your match.
Right. Well, yeah, you seem to block everything. All these mix-ups. You seem really good at it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Anything else?
Do you want?
I want every damn email you got, man. How many more you got? I don't actually
779.
No. Why don't you give me two more?
Dipping shit in your other shit. Hey, bombers. I made a batch.
I regret this so much already.
I made a batch of homemade soft pretzels the other day, and they were damned good. Too good to dip into anything like mustard, cheese, or whatever else.
Wow.
Naturally, this made me think of churros, and I remembered that, unlike myself, a lot of people like to dip their churros in chocolate, and I find that kind of weird. Maybe I just like plain shit, but my question for you is, you like dipping shit in other shit? And if you do like dipping your shit in other shit, is there any uncommon stuff you dip your shit into? Eric from St. Augustine, Florida.
All right, hear me out here. Okay, you take a ripe mango. So it has to be a Filipino mango. You take that like sweet piece of fruit, right? It's delicious. You dip that into shrimp paste.
God damn it. What the fuck? I'm hearing you. I can't taste it though. I don't think
I wouldn't want you to taste shrimp paste without knowing what it is. Oh.
Right.
Yeah, that's down.
What is shrimp paste? Is it
it's
what
just
I think
ground
it is?
up shrimp? Yep.
Yeah.
Oh. So it's not even like a sauce for shrimp.
Oh no, it's shrimp.
No, it's shrimp.
Sauce of shrimp.
I mean, unless would you ever dip shrimp into shrimp paste?
If you want to be wild and out, if you want to infuriate or intrigue your aunties and uncles at dinner, sure.
These days, I do not want to be wild and out, but
it can be spicy sometimes. It's very vinegary.
Okay. Yeah. Shrimp on shrimp seems.
It's like
that's a lot.
Yeah. Or chicken skin and vinegar.
Yes,
that could be good.
I'm with you on that.
Okay.
Vinegar. I have a violent reaction. Not violent, but I have a very negative reaction.
Violent.
Yes, I become violent around vinegar. I hate the vinegar. I hate vinegar. Oh, I hate vinegar. Vinegar. It's a cleaning product. You shouldn't put it in your body.
What if
I
it
love
cleans
the
you
way
out?
It makes your lips curl. Just even
Ugh.
thinking about it.
It does.
Sour is my favorite like flavor profile. I love it.
Vinegar is. I'm so grossed out by it. I hate vinegar.
What
I
do you
hate vinegar
more,
so
onions
much.
or vinegar?
Vinegar.
Oh wow.
Definitely vinegar.
Whoa.
Like, is there any form of it you do like a vinaigrette? Like,
No. I mean, if you can get away from the when I smell vinegar, the first place my brain goes to is like, oh, are we coloring Easter eggs over here? Because you would get the Paz Easter egg kits, and that dye would smell super fucking vinegary.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, it's just not food. It's just not food, man. If you can get completely away from the flavor profile of vinegar while still putting vinegar in a thing, I don't care. Whatever, right? Who gives a shit? But God damn it, man. God damn it.
I'm sorry.
Any other unconventional dips you enjoy?
Not
I love
unconventional.
dips.
I just love dipping shit and shit.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Sauce is the best food. Like, like it can make a bad dish. I disagree with the premise of the email. I think it can make a bad dish good. I think like over saucing is definitely a thing. You can put too much sauce on something, but I've never eaten something that's been properly sauced and be like, I think I would have liked this better without the sauce.
We had some leftover spaghetti sauce, but I didn't have any pasta or anything. So like last night at like 2 a.m., I'm like, I busted out the bread and I was dipping bread in the sauce just because I wanted the sauce so bad.
I've been really into, I'm trying to find like, every time I go shopping now, because I go so infrequently due to current events, I'm trying to make sure I get like a couple nice comfort items. So just like a treat, something that's like, yes, I'm trying to save, but also I deserve a treat. I'm a big boy and I deserve a treat.
Yes.
And it's usually been like ice cream, like a little like Ben and Jerry's or something. But I've been really on the spinach artichoke dip kick, and I could eat a whole tub of it in a day if I really disrespected myself enough.
Nice. I went through a phase where I stopped putting ketchup on fries because I was getting fries that I just really liked, and it didn't need the ketchup anymore. And I'm a ketchup fan. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, like I went through a part where I was just like, I don't need to put ketchup. Like I don't need to put ketchup on these fries because I just like these fries.
Yeah,
they're the right type of salty, and that's what I need right now. Is like incredibly fucking hot and fresh, salty ass French fries.
I'm a dry fry guy.
Yeah. But that didn't last. I eventually was just like, you know what? Ketchup, still pretty good.
Back to ketchup.
You guys ever dip a churro in chocolate? I didn't know that was a thing until recently.
I feel like I must have dipped churros in. I feel like icing,
delicious.
like a cinnamon roll style icing or something like that. I want to say
Like
someone served them that way, but
on filled churros.
No, down. No.
I'm usually with
Never had
you.
one.
But like if it's a shittier quality churro, I'll take the filling just to like distract me from it. Like if it's not crunchy, if it's like been sitting out for a while or whatever, I'll take it.
Ooh, I like a soft churro though.
What?
Yeah.
What?
I like fresh baked soft churros. I don't want them crunchy.
I don't want no limp churros.
Give me the limp churro.
I'm not going to give you the limp churro.
I want rock hard churros. Fresh out the machine.
Yeah.
I'm filling in a churro. Like again, churros should be good enough to not need it, but if it's filled with something fun, like sure, why not? Like I don't know, like a hot like a custard. Would a custard be fun? Yeah,
flavored custard.
Yeah, like a flavored custard. That might be all right.
What would you dip a donut in?
Chocolate.
Coffee.
Milk.
Maybe also.
Hot chocolate.
If we're talking about dipping
milk.
stuff into other stuff, definitely an Oreo and some milk.
Oh yeah.
Right.
How would you how do you do it?
Oh, the whole dang thing.
Do you place it in and hold it? Do you drop it in? Like what's your Oreo dip strat?
You just like dip, pull out.
I don't want to have to fish for it
then
later.
you have part of it where your fingers were.
And that's fine. Then you can take a little sip of milk.
No, see what you do is you just drop them in and then wait and then scoop them out with a fork, or you slide the fork into the cream.
Okay.
And then just dip that in and twirl that around a few times.
We're back on the same page.
Fuck that. Like at that point, like I don't have that kind of time in my life. Like here's what I'm doing. You know, at this point, fill my mouth with Oreos. How many can fit in there? 5? I don't know.
Jeff, give yourself some more credit. You can fit more than 5 Oreos.
I could probably fit more than 5 Oreos. Not if they're double stuff. I mean, come on, let's not be crazy.
Sure.
And then just drink the milk, hold it there for a while.
Whip your head around a little bit.
Exactly, you know. Make it happen. And then take care of and then take care of your mouth full of food without dying if you can.
And then you can feed your baby like a mother bird.
Yeah, exactly. You just gets all mushy in there, and you got a mouthful of just goop, and then you're ready to go.
That's how cookies and cream ice cream is made, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's around here. That's how I make it.
You gotta just put some ice on your cheeks while you do it.
Yeah. I don't dip Oreos in anything. I haven't in a long time. I used to religiously, but at some point, like I don't even twist the Oreos apart anymore.
Wow.
I just don't care enough about Oreos anymore. I just eat the Oreos.
Any Oreo that's not double or more stuffed. I do not fuck with a classic Oreo anymore. If I'm gonna go for an Oreo, I'm going double or triple.
Do they still make the big stuff?
There's mega stuff.
Okay.
But I don't know what that even looks like. I have not seen a mega stuff in person. I don't know.
Oreo big stuff.
I like some of their flavors. They do some different flavors here and there now.
Some of them are.
Some of them are.
I like a lemon one. I like really good.
I like a lemon one.
Oh, lemon Oreo just sounds like a.
I just had a slice of lemon cake the other day.
One of the greatest cakes I ever had was a cheesecake with it was a lime cheesecake with an Oreo crust, and that was just
Dang.
That does sound all right. All right, you got one more email for us to go out on?
One last email for us to go out on. This one was actually a pre-B mail. This was chosen by Brad Shoemaker, but it was still in the folder. Hey Duders, while looking up help for the CNC remaster, I found that the GameSpot CNC Tiberium Sun Guide was being hosted by none other than the CIA. The reason being that it was one of the documents found in the compound where Osama bin Laden met his end. And sure enough, there's a link to cia.gov/library/ a bunch of other stuff. And it's your CNC guide from GameSpot. Just thought you would like to know that you are links
on a list.
Serve a small part in history. Keep up the good work.
Oh, I've been on a list before.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel being part of history?
It's not the first time that I've been part of history. It won't be the last. So, it's kind of like whatever at this point. What are you going to do? I don't know. It's like.
You have anything else that you've done that you think deserves a spot on CIA.gov?
Yes.
Not anything
unrelated to the Sims 4 mod you downloaded the other day.
Yes. I mean, I hope.
The week after 4th of July, we were talking about lots of things that go boom.
Hey, if watching Sims get it on is something the CIA's hopefully got better stuff to do. If people want to mod their Sims 4 to watch the Sims to watch them do it and speak Simlish all the while, good. The CIA shouldn't care about that. If you want to do that, do it. Make the Sims bone. I say. I just don't want to. I don't think I want to see it again. But hey, make the Sims bone. If that's what you want to do.
I don't.
That's okay. All right, Jan, you're gonna go around the room. Who wants to? No, that's it. That's it for the show. Yeah, I'm not going to make anyone else sign a loyalty oath about making the Sims bone. Yes or no?
You would just make that 100 baby challenge a lot easier, I think.
Oh yeah, probably. Stay tuned for the after show.
Yep.
Or if you're in chat, you can ask us some questions and we will answer them. And yeah. Thanks all for hanging out. Brad Shoemaker should be back next week, but ironically, I will be gone again.
What?
I know.
Have any of you seen Jeff and Brad in the same place?
Not in at least like 3-4 months.
Yeah, I think they're the same person.
No,
I mean, we heard the accent earlier.
It's just I just do a really good impression.
Similar.
I just do a solid impression of him. That's all.
How would Brad outro the podcast?
Oi, it's the end of the show, isn't it? It's time for you all to listen to another podcast. Go back and listen to the Giant Beast cast, perhaps. Oi, it's podcasting, innit?
And
That's all I got.
End it.
See you, everybody. Bye.